Chapter 1167. As the little girl spoke, she took out a pile of small porcelain bottles under the expectant gazes of the crowd. There was a lid on each bottle and a spiral buckle. She unscrewed the lid and revealed the yellowish paste inside. She then introduced it to the dumbfounded Xiao Bei. Sheep oil skincare products. We are in the northwest. The wind is strong. Most of the time, it is cold and dry. Otherwise, there is a sudden heavy snow. If you come here without protection, your skin will be blown by the wind. It will be very painful. But if you use our skincare products, you are not afraid. Here. After that, the little girl handed the things to Xiao Bei. Xiao Bei took them and was speechless for a while. After a while, he turned to look at Xiao Yuan and said, "I am so stupid really. I only thought that fish oil cream could protect the skin, but I forgot that the Jiu Yuan is an important source of sheep oil." Xiao Yuan nodded seriously. "Yes, it is still an industry of our family's cosmetics. What should we do? Let's change it. It's like the Mid-Autumn Festival. You give people mooncakes. Can't they give you mooncakes? Come on, we also brought skincare products. Let's change it." Xiao Bei recovered quickly. He took off his backpack and took out the cosmetics they brought. The little girl was also stunned. She immediately took Xiao Bei's bag happily, showing a satisfied look, and said, "We haven't used fish oil yet. It may be better to change it. If we always use one kind, I am afraid that the effect will be reduced after a long time." That's right, that's right. Ah, it smells so good. I want to eat meat skewers." After exchanging gifts, Xiao Bei glanced at the oven, swallowed and said. The local children immediately handed the barbecued meat skewers to Xiao Bei and others, and stared at them eating. When Zhang Chong ate a piece of meat first, a little boy quickly asked, "How is it?" Zhang Chong nodded. "It's okay. To be honest, the smell of your barbecued meat is too strong. There is absolutely no other seasoning before barbecuing, only salt and cumin. When we eat in Hunan Road, the taste is much richer. There is also vinegar. When we eat in Luzhou, there is sweetness." All the children looked very sad. Just as they were about to explain, Zhang Chong changed the topic and said, "However, the sweet ones are too greasy, and the sour ones lose the original flavor of mutton. Moreover, the meat on the skewers is small because the bamboo there is cheap and can grow very tall in a year, so it doesn't cost any money. When the meat is too big, the bamboo skewer will break before the meat is cooked. The meat you roast is very satisfying. It's a grassland specialty, so you have to eat it boldly. Also, you cut fine cuts on the big pieces of meat. Children elsewhere can only look up to you. Also, the taste of your meat is different. I feel like I've eaten it before, but it's not the same." The children became happy again. The little girl continued, "Did you eat at Hongnong?" A merchant said that there was a good barbecue restaurant in Hongnong City. The meat was first processed, then a layer of fatty meat, a layer of lean meat, and a layer of tendon. Our barbecue is almost the same as theirs, but there is an extra layer, which is the sheepskin. After being cooked, it tastes like meat and tendons. How can our grassland barbecue lose to other places? Xiao Bei and others applauded. They had never eaten this kind of barbecue sheepskin. After eating a skewer, they were half full. That was more than half a gene of meat. The lamb roasted on the rack was also carried over. Xiao Bei cut out a few pieces and ate them slowly. Suddenly, he thought of something and asked, "Are there any bad guys here who are making trouble? Is there any collusion between officials and businessmen?" The local children burst into all kinds of laughter at once. After laughing for a while, Xiao Bei was stunned. The little girl said, "The Jiu Yuan is your home. If you make trouble and collude with officials and businessmen, it's like a tiger pulling a cart. Who drives it?" Xiao Bei was depressed. The local children also knew that Xiao Bei wanted to catch the bad guys. They were eating and thinking. When they were full, a little boy turned his eyes and said, "There is no one who is too bad. I know a soldier. He is not good. He is always suppressing the credit of his men." Sheep Egg Z's father was suppressed, and now he has not come out. "Really? Who is Sheep Egg Z? Xiaobei was interested. On the other street, he is 1 year older than me, 9.5 years old, but I am not afraid of him in a fight. His father is good at craftsmanship. He is in charge of the armory. He is managed by the soldier with the surname. The little boy is quite righteous. He usually fights, but he is not vague when he should help. He is called Gong Shuhe, not surnamed Gong, surname of 2 words. The little girl added. I know, a compound surname. What is the official of the soldier? What grade? Xiaobei wanted to catch a big one. Xiao Yuan said helplessly, 9th grade. It's good to enter the grade. In order to clean up people, Xiaobei began to be hungry. Even if she went down to check the village chief in her brother's story, she was willing to do it. The deputy national level is deputy, and the village chief is also the official level. Yes, the official level. The last piece of mutton on the plate was stuffed into his mouth, and then he took a sip of horse milk and coughed a few times. Xiaobei waved his hand and said, Come on, come with me to visit the official. Xiao Yuan and other 8 children got up sadly for Gong Shuhe and followed. The other children cheered excitedly. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan only knew that their younger brothers and sisters were going out for a walk, but they did not know that some unlucky people were being targeted. The 2 watched their subordinates introduce the method of growing chilies to the local officials beside a warehouse. In their hands, they held the income statement of crops and animal husbandry after last autumn's autumn harvest sent by the local officials, as well as the plan for today's spring plowing. It was the local officials who took the initiative to send it. Although it was common sense that the 2 could not control the local officials elsewhere, many things were not calculated according to common sense. The county magistrate of Jiuyuan County, Guan Yan, listened carefully to the introduction of chilies cultivation. From time to time, he glanced at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan with a calm look. According to him and his men, they did not embezzle or take bribes. Last year's collection of things into the warehouse and this year's plan were seriously done. Xiaobao and Cuckoo would not convict them even if they saw the bad things. They might even help to supplement this year's spring plowing plan. Sure enough, when Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan saw last year's harvest of potatoes, they looked at each other and shook their heads. Last year, the local harvest was only 200 caddies of potatoes, which was too little. Their own family in the northeast had more than 450 caddies of potatoes, which was more than double the previous harvest. They did not expect to suddenly produce tens of thousands of caddies of potatoes, but at least 600 to 700 caddies of potatoes. After the introduction of the chilies cultivation method, Zhang Xiaobao waved to the county magistrate, Guan Yan. Come here. Guan Yan was waiting for the call. He immediately approached and looked at Zhang Xiaobao respectfully. Don't plant the potatoes directly this year. First grow the seedlings, and then plant the seedlings. Specifically ask the technical staff. Zhang Xiaobao was not polite to the other side and directly instructed. Yes. I will listen to you too. Guan Yan nodded again and again. Listening to Xiaobao was right. Where else is not good? Guan Yan caught the opportunity and did not let it go. Zhang Xiaobao looked up at the sky and shook his head for a while. Not for the time being. I don't know much about the local situation. I will live here for a few days. Let's discuss it later. Zhang Xiaobao was not the kind of official who ignored reality for face. He did not understand. Yes. Thank you for your hard work. Guan Yan said with a smile. He turned around and went to discuss with the technical staff. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan returned to the restaurant with the spring plowing plan. Just as they entered, someone rushed in from outside. When he saw the 2 of them, he said with a face full of joy, Little young master, little miss, good news. It's from Japan. It said that the local people have started to buy things with receipts. Chapter 1168. The corners of Zhang Xiaobao's and Wang Wan's mouths curled up at the same time, and they became happier. The messenger handed over the information and did not stay any longer. He lowered his head and hurriedly left. He turned into the street in front of him and disappeared without a trace. 4 pieces of paper, 1 foot long and 1 foot wide, were the information this time. There were small words on them, which showed that there was a lot of content in them. Let's go in and have a look. I don't know why, but I feel happy when I see Japan is unlucky. Under the premise that the world is a family, I know I shouldn't think like this, but I really can't control myself. I know very well that my thoughts are wrong, but I still want to make mistakes again and again. Evil Abyss, have you heartlessly buried me? Zhang Xiaobao said happily. Then, he sneakily kissed Wang Wan on the lips. Wang Wan raised her hand and rubbed her face hard. She rolled her eyes at Zhang Xiaobao and said, "Except for the Tang Empire, you are happy when any country is unlucky." A typical racist. No, I'm a nationalist. The Chinese people celebrate in the evening. Go to Fengzhou. There is a lot of bone marrow. Fry bone marrow for the little guys to eat. Wrap it in noodles and egg white, and roll it in oil. It's crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. Zhang Xiaobao staggered into the room. The two of them put their heads together and read slowly, word by word, as if they were tasting a poem. They wanted to see how the businessmen would spontaneously take advantage of others. The two of them had not yet made a ruthless move. They had only built luxury stores in every area of Japan and wanted to take it slow. But the businessmen who pursued profits took the first move. After the Japanese compensation, it became a case of land division. From one square to another, they had to pass through the area leased by the Tang Empire. They had to be checked and show their identity cards. It was not too troublesome, but it made people feel sullen. It used to be their own land, but now they had to be checked by others. In the Tang Empire's leased areas, there were various civil and official institutions of the Tang Empire. Some collected information on land and water, some set up weather observation stations, and most of them were shops. Not all of the shops were owned by the Zhang family and the Wang family. Zhang Xiaobao only arranged for a 2-story restaurant to be built at every corner of the leased territory. He did not expect to make money, but to monitor the Tang merchants. The concession belonged to the Great Tang Imperial Court. Merchants had to pay rent and pay taxes when they went there. The restaurant calculated the merchants' income and monitored whether the merchants went to the Japanese's territory to do business. Later on, he realized that he had worried too much. The merchants who were qualified to go to Japan were very proactive in paying taxes. They knew that the taxes they paid would be exchanged for various weapons from the Great Tang. When they were bullied or bullied outside, the Great Tang army would go over. In addition to the restaurant, he also went to the little one's precious candy house. Under Zhang Xiaobao's suggestion, he adopted the method of charging a low fee. However, all the packaging of the candy and children's entertainment facilities were in the Great Tang language. Every time there was a discount, he had to tell the children who came to play that it was a reward from the Emperor of the Great Tang. Such activities were held at least 3 times a month. The Japanese children were also allowed to exchange things. Otherwise, they would not be able to take out so much money from the Great Tang. Of course, the Japanese were not all fools. Some of them could see the impact of such methods on their own people. Unfortunately, all such people were excluded from the ruling class. The will of the leader was an important factor in determining the direction of a country, whether it was a dictatorship or a democracy. The Zhang family and the Wang family sent these. The other part belonged to the imperial court, which was the lottery and medical services. The purpose of the lottery was to make money in Japan, because the currency used to buy it was Japanese money. At the same time, the currency used to exchange it for the Japanese was also Japanese money. The money earned in the process had been kept, waiting for Zhang Xiaobao to make the final move. Because the lottery belonged to the imperial court, Zhang Xiaobao controlled it. As for the medical services, many good doctors were sent to the Great Tang. They also brought a lot of drugs, including the newly developed drugs that the Great Tang people had not enjoyed. More interns also followed them. There was no need to say much about the purpose. In addition to using the Japanese to test the drugs in practice, there was only the great spirit of the International Red Cross. For this spirit, whether others believed it or not, Zhang Xiaobao firmly believed in it. Wang Wan, on the other hand, snorted at Zhang Xiaobao's self-boasting statement. All the shops in Japan became the business of the Great Tang merchants. They transported things that were not available in Japan and sold them. They only collected money from the Great Tang, and then used the Great Tang money to buy the local raw materials in Japan. The matter seemed very clear and simple, but the exchange rate set by the Japanese ruling class was 1 to 2. It was not 1 to 2.8 that Xiao Bei kindly reminded them of. The Japanese officials had a 40% advantage when it came to currency exchange. The tourists from the Great Tang gave Japan more than 50,000 strings of Tang money every month. The Japanese ruling class used this money to buy parts from the Great Tang, such as steam engines. They had already obtained the technology for the first generation of steam engines, but they could not produce the parts. But they, who did not understand the financial system, made their people suffer the pain of unreasonable currency exchange. Fengqiao Shoji, Takashita Junichiro, and the others, who had lived in the Great Tang for many years, were all too clear about the monetary policy. But their advice was like a stone sinking into the sea. They could only cry and sigh. Every time they met, they would drink wine. They hoped that the punishment would last forever, but they were afraid that the punishment would last forever. It could be said that they were loyal to the Great Tang and looked at each other in jest. The tourists of the Great Tang were not in the mood to care about the sorrows of Japan. They came for a stroll, drank Japanese wine with their wives and daughters, and admired the great rivers and mountains of Japan. They also enjoyed the beautiful scenery of the Bodhi leaves, the blue sea, and the red clouds on the beach. The merchants of the Great Tang began to take action. The exchange rate of 1 to 2 was the official exchange rate of Japan, but the Japanese people could not maintain it. For example, the merchants of the Great Tang put up notices and asked people to explain that they wanted to buy sea fish or river fish. It did not matter even if they did not use the black market. The currency had a fixed position, but the price of fish was not fixed. It could be high or low. In order to be able to enter the Great Tang Medical Center for treatment when they were sick, to wear more beautiful clothes, to let their children play with better things, and to treat guests to the Great Tang restaurant, they needed more Great Tang currency. Then, when the merchants of the Great Tang were buying fish, they said that they wanted to buy fish that cost 10 strings of coins. They would settle every 300 copper coins, and they would buy the cheaper and better fish. In the end, the fishermen kept lowering the price, hoping to sell their fish and obtain the Great Tang's money to be used at the crucial time. It was the same as the situation of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan more than 100 years ago. However, at that time, it was the government's action. Later, private enterprises also participated. A pair of pure leather shoes were sold for dozens of cents. They were exported in order to exchange for foreign exchange, and in the past, hundreds of yuan could not buy pure leather shoes. But at that time, the export enterprises were subsidized by the state, and the attack was on the non-export manufacturing industry and the people. Now, the situation was not much different. The problem was that the population of Japan was small now, and on average, everyone suffered a great loss. After the clever Tang merchants made the first move, they immediately followed suit. Speaking of fish, according to the exchange rate, they should be able to buy twice as much with the same amount of money. However, after the price was lowered, the purchasing power could be 5 times or even more. According to the exchange rate, one would have to pay 80 copper coins to buy 100 caddies of fish. Now, it was 16 copper coins. The fish bought for 16 copper coins was immediately processed on the spot with the secret recipe and seasoning of the Great Tang. It was 40 copper coins for 100 caddies of fish. The Japanese were allowed to use Japanese money to buy it, which was 80 copper coins. As such, a problem arose. Under the low profit and no profit marketing methods of the Great Tang merchants, when the Japanese people saw that the Great Tang's fish was only 40 copper coins for 100 caddies of fish, why would they buy the fish caught by their own people? The fish caught by their own people were 160 copper coins, which was 80 copper coins for the Great Tang. The Great Tang's fish was 50% cheaper, and it was processed. Therefore, when the fishermen found that their fish could not be sold, the Great Tang merchants continued to lower the price when they bought the fish. In the end, the merchants did not exchange the currency and directly bought and sold the fish. With the Great Tang's advanced technology and the vanity of the Japanese people, they easily broke the exchange rate set by the Japanese officials. When the angel smile and the sleigh pulled by the reindeer sprinkled the gifts of winter into the hot springs of Japan, the merchants of the Great Tang began to buy crazily. They spent a lot of money and bought countless goods. The fine leather clothes of the Bohai Commander-in-Chief's office became the main consumables or luxury goods in Japan in winter. The Japanese people were proud to have a leather coat with the pattern of rice seedlings printed on it. Together with the cotton-padded clothes and skincare products in other areas, a lot of money was collected. The grass sprouted and the cherry blossoms under Mount Fuji were budding. The ruling class of Japan had to face the reality of the lack of materials in the country and began to implement shopping vouchers. At the same time, a new currency rule was formulated, that the Great Tang people could not directly use the Great Tang money to buy Japanese things. When Zhang Xiaobao saw the last line of words, he looked up and said to Wang Wan beside him, "That's it. The merchants of our country are discussing countermeasures. The Japanese have become smarter." "Hey!" Wang Wan squeezed out a sound from between her teeth and said, "Why are the merchants of our country so stupid? We will write back later and tell them that we agree with the new rules of the Japanese, but..." Zhang Xiaobao continued, "But the Japanese must allow the repurchase of official currency. We can first exchange the currency with their official currency according to their requirements, and then buy their goods. We can also use their money to exchange our own money back. Our goods will not be sold directly to their people. It must be their people who pay with our country's money. I guess the Japanese can also think of this without me saying it. Baby, sometimes I wonder if I'm being too much of a bully." From the emergence of the international currency exchange system to its relative perfection, it took a much longer time than the industrial development. There's a lot of information in it, so if we just take it out and force them to keep up with us, they'll stumble and almost fall with every step. It's an unfair win. Dear husband, you are crying for the mouse now. When the first firecracker explodes, the people who are still burning bamboo and listening to the sound are doomed to failure. Wang Wan glanced at Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao sighed and said, "The cat will not cry for the mouse for the time being. The cat will only cry when the last mouse in the world dies, because it has one less food. In this case, let's teach the merchants of our country and let them plunder in another way. I hope they can grow up quickly so that I can eat the honey of our country's Turkey province and Yemen province. By the way, I will take you to our country's Rhine River to swim." Chapter 1169. Before his younger siblings came back from playing, Zhang Xiaobao had already started to write a telegram and sent it out. The telegram was not too long, but it was not short either. He did not intend to mention too many details, just a general idea. Zhang Xiaobao believed that the businessmen of Tang would know how to arrange the details after seeing the idea. There was no shortage of geniuses in the world. In terms of economics, the geniuses of Tubo and Japan were not bad. They were on the list of the richest people in Tang. The main problem was that they were too bad at politics. They knew many things but could not report to the country. There were many such things in the world. If you have the ability, I will not use you. If you write a good thesis, but don't put my name in front, I will not let you graduate. If you are a beauty, but put my name in front of your thesis and don't sleep with me, I will not let you graduate. Therefore, many things were not very complicated. It was just a problem of thinking. Zhang Xiaobao provided the ideas to the businessmen of Tang. Zhang Xiaobao could only apologize to the businessmen who did not have the ability. The number of them was too large. What if they leaked the news? The contents of the telegram. First, let the businessmen sign a currency treaty with Japan, but do not think about perfecting this treaty. Unless there was a loophole that was too big for them, they should just let it be and slowly perfect it in the future. Every perfection was a learning process for Japan. Learning naturally required paying tuition. Second, tell the businessmen that the name of the currency determined its position. Currency was naturally used to buy goods, but who said that it could not be used to buy goods? Therefore, after exchanging the money, they could rent land in Japan and invest in capital. They could only produce goods and not sell them to Japan. They could sell them back to Tang through a joint venture. Because it was a unilateral passive currency exchange, goods sold to Tang had to pay tariffs. At the same time, they had to meet the price set by Tang. Third, increase the price of the goods sold by Tang shops in the leased land, especially the medical centers. However, they could give a limited amount of welfare vouchers to the employees who rented land in Japan. Fourth, actively promote the immigration policy of Tang, targeting the relatively wealthy individuals and families in Japanese society. Fifth, borrow Japanese currency from Japanese people and exchange it with the Japanese government financial institutions for Tang currency, but repay it in Japanese currency. Sixth, it was not a matter for the businessmen, but for Tang to monitor the quality of imported goods from Japan. They had to raise the technical threshold. The purity and other elements of the old brass and silver had to be raised to a level so that they could set a new import price. Number 7. Hubby, don't go overboard. Can't you give him a chance to breathe? If I knew you were going to do this, why would I need you to write? I can write it. It's a waste of my husband's talent to write it. It's easy for a big country with advanced technology and military power to bully a small country. In the future, let this concubine deal with such matters. What do you think, hubby? People like you don't need to do anything. They just need to lie in bed. Wang Wan looked at what Zhang Xiaobao wrote with a brush in small regular script and felt a chill. If he continued to write, it was estimated that the economic and political system of Japan would collapse, which would cause a war in Japan. At that time, she would be eating too much food and would not have time to affect Japan. Therefore, she must not let Zhang Xiaobao continue to write. Hearing Wang Wan's words, Zhang Xiaobao woke up. He shook his head and said, "First of all, I am not a male prostitute. I don't need to lie in bed to do everything. You have to agree with me. Besides, even a male prostitute can't always lie down, because the posture is different. Although I don't go to school, I know that the boys' physical education class is push-ups, pull-ups, and triangle handstands. The girls' physical education class is sit-ups, horizontal bars, and shoulder elbows. Why? It's because of the posture. How many girls learn squats and horizontal bars? That's to train erotic dancers. Secondly, I can't help but can't control my thoughts. You can't criticize me. You can only guide me. For example, when we are in bed, no matter who is on top. Rogue, a physical education class can make you feel dirty." Wang Wan gritted her teeth. Yes, physical education class is really rogue, and it discriminates against women. Why can't women do push-ups? And why can't men do shoulder elbows? Didn't we say that men and women are equal? Why can't women take the initiative and say that girls have practiced some kind of technique? Dirty, too dirty. I don't want to talk about it. The more I think about it, the angrier I get. I will not allow the Tang Dynasty's physical education class to be taught like what I said before. Zhang Xiaobao didn't blush and agreed with her. Wang Wan helplessly patted her forehead with her hand and said, "Just do as you said before." She had to admit that some of the content in the physical education class in primary and secondary schools did mean this. The purpose was to lay the foundation for human reproduction. But when it was said so bluntly, she felt awkward. It belonged to the category of what could be done and could not be said. Regarding the physical education class in primary and secondary schools, Wang Wan also added after the first 6 points written by Zhang Xiaobao. She really didn't dare to let Zhang Xiaobao continue to write. It was too radical and needed to be eased. At least, she had to wait until she finished fighting Duosher and occupied a certain amount of land before she could take down Japan in one fell swoop. The first point added was to invite the Japanese ruling class to Tang Dynasty for exchanges and discussions. Everyone could promote each other and bring their families. Tang Dynasty would be responsible for reimbursing all the travel expenses. At the same time, there would be free coupons when entering the amusement park, and exquisite gifts would be prepared. The second point added was to provide a special interest-free loan of 1 million strings of Tang Dynasty money to hire Zhengjing Construction Group to build infrastructure in Japan, such as roads and river embankments. The concrete technology would be used, and when it was returned, it would be Tang Dynasty's money. The third point added was to build a thermal power station for free in Japan, and it would be provided to the Japanese people at a preferential price. They could pay for electricity in Japanese currency for lighting and other purposes. The fourth point added was to strengthen the exchange of folk art groups. Soon, they would send an art group to Japan to perform. Japanese art groups were also welcome to come to Tang Dynasty to perform, and Tang Dynasty would provide food and accommodation. Well, let's send it out together. Wang Wan put down the pen and said to Zhang Xiaobao with a smile. Moi. Zhang Xiaobao hugged Wang Wan's head and kissed her hard on the face. He praised, "My baby is so insidious. While numbing Japan, you have built the foundation for the march. With such a wife, what more can I ask for? Don't be so mushy. What more can you ask for? Can you represent all the husbands? I am sincerely thinking for the Japanese people. Look at me differently. Can't I be kind?" Wang Wan sweetly rolled her eyes at Zhang Xiaobao and began to explain her motives. But in the end, she lost confidence. Zhang Xiaobao nodded fiercely. "Yes, I have seen it. You are too kind and easy to be deceived." Zhang Xiaobao said exaggeratedly, but he was very satisfied in his heart. The 4 points added by Wang Wan seemed to be helping the Japanese, but in essence, that was not the case. He invited people to come over for a visit. One was to affect their working hours, and the other was to provide them with various ideas to learn from when they returned to Japan. But many things could not be learned just because they wanted to. Giving them interest-free loans and helping them to build roads was also to have a comfortable path for military intervention in the future. When the roads were built and they were repaid, although the money in Tang Dynasty would depreciate a little, the depreciation of money in Japan would be more severe. In theory, the Tang Dynasty's money would be in a state of appreciation in Japan. As for the thermal power station, it was purely an experiment using the place and resources of Japan. The final exchange was to lay the foundation of the people. When they wanted to send troops, they would first take back the loans and disrupt Japan's financial system. Then, they would follow the road construction and cut off electricity to break the habits of the people who used electricity. At the same time, they would use the good foundation of the people to complete local governance. As Zhang Xiaobao thought about it, he suddenly said, "If that's the case, then our party and government are indeed doing well. At least the people's living standards have improved. Although the quality of the food they eat and use is not very good, most of it is because the people are harming themselves. During the War of Resistance, our party's troops were still brave." "Don't talk about our party. You are not a party member. Have you ever worn a red scarf? You only know how to sell 13 incense. During the anti-Japanese war, it was the Kuomintang who rushed to the front. The weapons were not good, and the soldiers sacrificed their lives. It was also the Kuomintang government that used diplomacy to get help from other countries. The Chinese people from other countries donated money and goods. Some even came in person. Many people from the US died. The Soviet Union helped the Communist Party later to gain benefits. Of course, they did it for their own benefits. But you can't deny that the Kuomintang did it. Later on, when they went to Taiwan, they said that our ships would not cross Taiping Island. But when we were fighting Vietnam, they did not attack Taiping Island, right? And they even helped us supply supplies. Other than the descendants of the Japanese, they still care about national interests. I don't want to talk to you anymore. You are too stupid to understand." Wang Wan refuted Zhang Xiaobao, but in the end, she did not know what to say. Zhang Xiaobao laughed and said, "Look, I am criticizing the Communist Party. You are criticizing me, and I am praising you. Don't think about that period. We have not experienced it." Who said that the general trend of the world is that men are on top of women, women are on top of men, women are on top of men, men are on top of women, women are on top of men, men are on top of women, women are on top of men, and men are on top of each other. That's how it is. But no matter if it is a man or a woman, they are still husband and wife. Even if it is a husband and wife, it is a husband and wife or a wife, it is a husband and wife or a brother who has nothing to do with the foreign movie, Brokeback Mountain. We are always on the outside. As for the descendants of the Japanese, I want to say, Lei Feng to them. If I had lived for another 20 years, I would not have been able to kill them. Now, we will live our own lives. I did not send troops to play with sulfur balls. Now, it is only you who bullied others, and they retaliated, so I did not bully them. After all, there are former immigrants, we should give them some benefits. After some time, things will get better.
Didn't you also send ships to protect the fishermen there?
In the future, as trade and communication increase, we will occupy the place without sending troops. After we finish playing with Toshatu, we will advertise and bring more people there for a trip. With more interaction, things will get better. As for the bad clothes and mental appearance of the locals, it is understandable.
Quality is not developed in a day.
Quality is also determined by people.
How can you bully others? You can purify opium and mix it with starch and sell it. The price is not low. Wang Wan habitually refuted Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao took 2 deep breaths. That is a painkiller, okay?
According to what you said, it is like a drug.
Did I let them take one at a time? Anyway, you are taking advantage of them. According to what you said, I am taking advantage of you.
Aren't you willing to?
You hooligan. Tonight, you go count the moon. I will sleep with Xiao Bei and the rest.
I will drag Xiao Yuan and the rest to count the stars.
If you have the guts, you can drag them to count the stars every day. I am the one who is at a disadvantage, okay?
You are the one who is at a disadvantage.
I only took advantage of you with my words. Why don't I sing you a song?
Disgusting. While Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were discussing who was at a disadvantage, Xiao Bei and the rest had already arrived at the armory.
When they saw the armory, the little guys were shocked.
The armory in front of them was different from the ones they had seen in other places. The so-called armory is a warehouse, which is piled with military supplies, including equipment and cotton-padded clothes, canned food and so on. The warehouse that the Zhou Yuan now sees is not a general warehouse.
It is actually half a building. It is said to be a building. It is not directly touching the ground below. It is densely supported with logs.
It is very similar to the Jiao Jiao building, but there are no such high support pillars, and it is not supported on 3 sides, it is supported on all sides.
What do you mean? Xiao Zhu likes to study this.
He doesn't understand. He turns to ask the local children. Come on, come on.
The little boy who said that he was going to fight ran over with a child who was half a head taller than him. He took a few breaths and said, "He is Yang Danzi. He is always beaten by me." Who was beaten by me and didn't know? Yang Danzi obviously had a bad temper. That time, I hit your nose. You cried when I hit your nose.
This year, last winter, you even stole our roasted potatoes to eat.
I saw you, but I didn't say anything. The little boy who pulled him over had a look of "you owe me" on his face. Yang Danzi turned his head and said, "You told my sister that you couldn't finish eating and asked us to get it, okay? I just won't tell you where my sister is today. If you don't tell me, I'll find her myself. That yellow dog of yours must be by her side. Once I whistle, the dog will hear it. Even the dog knows me." The little boy said unwillingly, but he gave a feeling that he was strong in appearance but weak in heart.
Xiao Bei and others realized.
Xiao Yuan, it's not easy to be a boy who likes girls. You have to send things when you are beaten and angry. Really, you are sad, but you want the beauty to laugh. How can you go out and chat with her?
A ride together, shy and delicate, don't ask the end of the world, ask the corner of the sea.
What a mess, you used the wrong rhyme. Are you bullying me because my language is not good? Your family writes poems to beat the rhyme and multiply the rhyme? It's better to change it to grass. Xiao Bei arched Xiao Yuan with his body.
Yes, Xiao Bei is powerful.
It's grass. How can we follow each other to step on the green grass?
It's a good word.
If we use the word chat, we will make a sound.
It should be that the two are in love with each other without words.
When we make a sound, we will break the mood. It's really good. Those who know me, Xiao Bei. At this moment, Xiao Yuan showed his talent. His literary level was so high, there was no other way.
Go and ask.
Xiao Hai was unwilling and ordered Xiao Yuan to go. Ask clearly.
Don't put all your thoughts on my sister. Of course, your poem is not bad. It's as beautiful as your sister's painting. Xiao Hai praised again because Xiao Yuan's sister, Xiao Zhu, blinked her eyes and came over. With confidence, Xiao Yuan puffed out his chest and raised his head. He walked over to Yong Danzi. When he was about to say something, the sound of horse hooves came from the east. He turned his head and saw a man and a horse galloping over. His speed was like the wind, and his momentum was like a rainbow. When he was 100 steps away, he slowed down. The man sat on the horse with a smile on his face. He raised his voice and said, "I am Gong Shuhe, here." With a bang, the horse fell and the man rolled to the ground. Before he could do anything, a few people jumped out and pointed their guns at his head. "If you move, we will kill you." Chapter 1170. It's a misunderstanding, a misunderstanding. The person who called himself Gong Shuhe, who was pressed to the ground and held at gunpoint, quickly explained. The people holding him down didn't listen to his explanation. 2 of them searched him, and 1 of them put handcuffs on him. After a while, the people searching him found a weapon on him. It was a dagger that was 1 foot long and 1.5 inches wide. The dagger had a sharp edge on one side and a sawtooth on the other. The handle was wrapped with strips of leather in the shape of fish scales. When he saw the dagger, Gong Shuhe broke out in a cold sweat. He continued to explain, "It's a military dagger. It can be used to cut meat and eat it. The sawtooth at the back can be used to open cans of food. There's a little opening on the handle, and the handle can be opened with a needle and thread." "Shut up." Without waiting for Gong Shuhe to finish explaining the functions of the dagger, he pressed the other person down. He didn't need to tell him how to use a military dagger. The problem wasn't the military dagger, but why was he allowed to have a military dagger? The non-combat department didn't provide him with a military dagger. As a soldier, he was responsible for logistics. The other reason was that he was a 9th-rank official. Why did he carry a dagger when he rushed over on horseback? If he didn't get off his horse when he was 100 paces away, a strong archer would be able to kill his enemy from 100 paces away. "Listen to me. I don't have any ill intentions. I just happened to pass by and saw a group of people surrounding the armory. I was afraid that I might lose something, so—" Gong Shu he was dragged to Xiao Bei and the others. He didn't stop talking. "Are you tired? Do you know who I am?" Xiao Bei put his hands behind his back and looked at the person who was kneeling in front of him but didn't forget to speak. You. Are you looking for a beating? Are you bullying me because I'm uncultured? You guys, the word you invented. Who are we? You, how is this possible? Could it be that? If this official's guess is correct, may I be so bold as to say that you are? I am too excited. You are the great Tang's patrol envoy. This lowly official, I truly don't know how to describe the joy in my heart. Smoke is rising from my ancestral grave. Gong Shu his eyes widened, and his body trembled. He forced a smile that was full of wrinkles. 8 of his yellow teeth were exposed. However, after a few seconds, he was disappointed. Xiao Bei and the others were not moved at all. The atmosphere suddenly became oppressive. Of course, only Gong Shu he could feel it. The others were not guilty, so they were not afraid. Xiao Bei still had his hands behind his back as he paced back and forth in front of Gong Shu he. After walking for 3 minutes, he stopped and asked Gong Shu he, "Xiao Bei, do you know which 2 types of people I hate the most?" Gong Shuhe shook his head nervously. He was really scared now. The situation was different from what he had imagined before he came. When he came, he was thinking about riding a horse. When the little ones saw him on the horse, they yearned for him to lead them to chase the clouds in the sky on the grassland. Then he would sing at the top of his voice, singing the solemnity and desolation that belonged to the grassland, singing the ambition of the goshawk that had been passed down since ancient times, singing the happiness and serenity of the flock of sheep after the strong wind. From then on, he was no longer a soldier in charge of logistics. It was not a problem for him to become a 7th-grade officer.
But why was the ending different from what he had described in his heart?
Was it because Huang Sha didn't understand Xiao Cao's heart, or was it because the west wind couldn't blow out Xian Tianyou's feelings? If the arrival of spring was unable to cover up the traces of winter, then who was the one who made the branches bloom green? If a belly full of talent had to go east like the Yellow River, then was this fate or the will of the heavens?
Perhaps. What are you doing? I'm asking you a question. Will you die if you answer? You're making your eyes full of melancholy. While Gong Shuhe was thinking about what to say, Xiao Bei spoke again.
I don't know.
Gong Shuhe could not think about it anymore.
He had to get through the difficult situation in front of him first.
Then I'll tell you. The first type of people I hate are those who don't know anything.
Tell me again. What is the second type that I hate?
Xiao Bei asked again.
Gong Shuhe did not dare say that he did not know.
Xiao Bei was annoyed.
He quickly said, It's
people who don't know anything.
Wrong. They're pretending not to know. You said you were passing by, so I sent someone to the place you came from to ask around. I want to see if I can find out that you asked someone about our whereabouts before you came here. Guess what the result is?
Xiao Bei stared into Gong Shuhe's eyes.
He had a questioning look on his face. I know I was wrong.
I didn't ask about your whereabouts because I wanted to harm you.
I wanted to learn the meaning of sunflowers facing the sun.
Listen to the drum and move with the flag. Gong Shuhe expressed his position.
He was also ambitious. As the saying went, an official who did not want to be a villain was not a good gentleman.
Xiao Bei grunted. He put his hands behind his back and walked towards Yong Danzi.
Gong Shuhe, who was still nervous, was released, and the dagger was confiscated. As for how it had come about, there was no need to ask. It was very normal and abnormal for a logistics manager to secretly take out a dagger and use it.
Xiao Yuan pulled Yong Danzi over.
Tell us about your father.
Where is he now?
Compared to Gong Shuhe's nervousness, Yong Danzi was much calmer. It was mainly because Xiao Bei and the others had done a good job of spreading the news. They only caught corrupt officials and bad people. If they did not do anything wrong, they were not afraid of ghosts knocking on their door.
I don't know where my father is.
Let's look for him.
We'll find him. What do you want me to talk about?
Yong Danzi's eyes looked back and forth between Xiao Bei and the others. He had a curious and happy expression on his face. The little boy beside him, who had taken a liking to his sister, pointed out, Just tell us how much your father has contributed and how many times he has suppressed him.
As he spoke, he pointed at Gong Shuhe.
How dare you speak nonsense?
Gong Shuhe glared.
You're scaring me. The little boy glared back.
Even I am scared, Xiao Yuan said.
Gong Shuhe's face turned white. He lowered his head and explained, He's slandering me.
Can't I tell if he's slandering you? Do I need your advice? Xiao Bei did not even look at Gong Shuhe.
I know I'm wrong. Gong Shuhe did not dare to speak again.
The little boy did not intend to let him off easily. He said to Xiao Bei, Look, Xiao Bei. He even dares to threaten me in front of you and wants to seal my mouth. If you weren't here, he would have killed me. I guess I won't be able to grow up.
Look, he still dares to glare at me.
I'm the flower of the Tang Empire.
Not only did he not give me sunshine, he even wants to leave a shadow in my heart. Gong Shuhe closed his eyes and lowered his head.
He was very depressed.
He knew that no matter what he said, it would be useless.
Xiao Bei did not continue to target Gong Shuhe.
Even if he had 100 more guts, he would not dare to take revenge. Xiao Bei's gaze landed on the storeroom in front of him.
He asked Yong Danzi, Is there a benefit to setting up the house?
Yes. My father is afraid that the water on the ground will dampen the things inside. Also,
Yong Danzi furrowed his eyebrows and tried to organize his words. Gong Shuhe took the opportunity to say, Why do you need to set it up?
Because the spring is warm and the snow is melting, the earth is warm, so we need to set it up to prevent dampness. There are also wall cards inside.
If there is a fire, they can be unplugged. Riddle? Xiao Bei looked at Xiao Yuan. Xiao Yuan could only look at Yong Danzi.
Yong Danzi explained, the things inside are also placed on the shelves.
They are not piled up on the ground.
There are bolts in the walls of the storeroom.
If you pull them out, the entire wall will collapse. When there is a fire, it is convenient to put out the fire.
If you need to quickly grab a weapon, you can also dismantle the wall.
Not bad, not bad. Xiao Bei praised him. He walked around the house, intending to go in and take a look. The lock on the door blocked everyone.
The key.
It was time for Xiao Yuan to show off. I don't have it. His father won't give it to me. Gong Shuhe knew how to complain. He pointed at Yong Danzi. What do you do if there is an emergency?
Xiao Bei asked. Other people have it, but he doesn't. He stole. My father said that it is their business to give him the key to the armory that other people are in charge of. My father will not let him steal from the armory that my father is in charge of.
Gong Shuhe didn't say anything at first, but Xiao Bei looked at him.
He could only answer, I did it to test the weapon. No matter how bold I am, I wouldn't dare to sell the weapon. That is a crime that will result in the destruction of my family.
Keep walking. The design of the storeroom is quite good. Xiao Bei turned around and continued walking inside. Gong Shuhe quickly followed. He didn't forget to show off.
Thank you for the compliment.
It is what I should do. I am a local official, and I am loyal to the country.
I have no distractions.
It was his father who designed it, the little boy retorted unhappily. It was Yong Danzi's father who designed it.
His father, Yong Fon, is very skillful.
I only had to tell his father the idea, and he knew what I meant.
If I had done it myself, the effect would have been slightly worse. This is called using justice for personal gain. It is a combination of mental and physical labor.
Gong Shuhe smiled.
From his words, one could see that he was selfless and knew how to use people. The little boy thought for a while before he figured out what Gong Shuhe meant. He was so angry that tears almost came out. He ran a few steps to catch up with the group. He pouted and muttered, You are so shameless.
Everyone continued walking and looked around.
The logistics department's planning was quite good. The houses were neatly arranged, and the corridors were wide. Compared to the road outside, the snow had melted, and the logistics department wasn't muddy.
The ground was covered with sand. It was soft to step on, but it wouldn't get wet. The outside is not as good as the barracks. When we came in, I stepped on mud.
Since the barracks have sand, why didn't they arrange for the logistics officers to do the same when they knew we were coming? Just treat it as a test of the combat ability of the engineers.
Xiao Bei thought back to the experience of stepping on mud. The more he walked, the more uncomfortable he felt. He huffed. Xiao Hai and the others nodded in agreement.
They didn't think there was anything wrong with using public resources for personal gain.
It could be treated as a drill. How could the logistics department not be able to pave a road?
What kind of logistics engineers were they?
What did the logistics camp in Izhou do?
They didn't expect the current logistics to rush to the front and take over, but they had to do what they had to do. Looking at the little guys complaining, Captain Zhang Hu laughed and said, You only think about the ability of the local engineers. Why don't you think about whether the people who come here should adapt first?
It's not that the local people are unprepared.
Xiao Bei, you really want to see the logistics ability of the Zhou Yuan.
Arrange a drill tomorrow afternoon, okay? Don't use the power of our family.
Oh, it's my brother who won't let us.
We can let them go tomorrow afternoon. Oh, we can't reveal the secret ahead of time.
Watch him.
Thank you, Brother Huzi. Xiao Bei was excited and pointed to Gong Shuhe.
The other children were also very happy, especially the local children. There was an activity tomorrow, and it was lively with more people. The talkative little boy followed and said, We will go with you. We won't reveal the secret. We will go to the restaurant with you.
You will treat us to good food. Okay, We have nothing else to do. We will treat you to food. Xiao Bei promised very happily.
Gong Shuhe was also happy. He pretended to be reserved and said, "This official is not very hungry.
I can't eat too much. I can only talk as a foil. I hope you don't mind."
At least this official's mind. Who said we will eat with you? Tonight, my brother will make us something to eat.
Do you expect me to treat you?
Your meal is cooked in the restaurant.
You can choose 6 of the 32 dishes.
2 meat dishes, 2 vegetarian dishes, 2 cold dishes, and 1 soup. There is no limit to the staple food.
After the meal, there is a fruit plate or tea. Xiao Bei didn't give him any face.
Gong Shuhe was choked. Although the meal in the restaurant was good, it was not as good as eating with the little guys.
He hesitated and finally couldn't help but ask softly, "Why?"
"Because you are an official."
Xiao Hai continued, "He's just a 9th rank official.
There are rules in the officialdom. We can eat with any ordinary person, but we can't easily eat with an official. This is to prevent you from spreading the word that you have a close relationship with the patrol inspector."
"That's right. Big brother is right. We'd rather cry with the people than smile at you. If there's a need, big sister will smile at you. Do you want to try?" Xiao Bei echoed.
Gong Shuhe shook his head vigorously. "No need.
This meal is very good.
I am content." He knew that it was better to provoke the wrath of the King of Hell than to see the smile of a demon. When the King of Hell met the Zhang family and the Wang family, he seemed to become worthless. Just like the proverb praising De Medical School, the Taoist King of Hell died at the 3rd watch, and when I say the 5th watch, it means the 5th watch.
"Are you really satisfied?" The little boy didn't forget to add insult to injury. It showed how popular Gong Shu he was. Gong Shuhe held back his anger towards the little boy and replied with a smile, "It's true, it's true. When you're full, you shouldn't complain. When you're hungry, you should reminisce about it. If the dish is not popular, the heavens will not punish everyone."
"What do you mean? Are you bullying me because I don't understand?"
"Little brother Xiao Yuan, tell me." The little boy didn't understand, so he turned his head to ask Xiao Yuan.
"He said that when you're full, you shouldn't think that ordinary food isn't delicious. You should think about how you used to be so hungry. There were already 2 ways to cook and stir-fry dishes, but you still had to be picky about the 2 ways to cook and stir-fry dishes.
If the heavens don't punish you, you'll be fine.
In fact, our restaurant has both stir-frying, and deep-frying dishes, not to mention the 2 ways of cooking and stir-frying. We have raw things and barbecued things, such as raw mutton, raw beef, and raw fish."
Xiao Yuan frowned and explained to the little boy and the other local children. He was a bit disgusted with Gong Shuhe.
He had nothing better to do, so he always talked about things like rhymes and nursery rhymes. What was there to show off about?
"Oh."
The little boy nodded.
"I've never eaten raw beef before. Cows are all used to plow the land. Raw mutton isn't tasty.
I can eat raw horse meat, but after eating it, my stomach hurts. A few days ago, I went to your precious candy house to eat candy shaped like that. Then, a lot of bugs came out.
I won't eat raw horse meat anymore." "Yes, you can't eat it casually. It's easy to get sick. Tonight, I'll have Big Brother make sashimi for you. Our family specially raised fish. There are a few ways to dip it in and eat it without adding anything.
Try it.
It's just that." Xiao Yuan sighed.
However, the local children were very willing to listen to what Xiao Bei and the others said. They felt that they knew a lot. Even the words that came out of their mouths were knowledge. As they continued to walk, Xiao Bei, who was running in front, suddenly exclaimed. He then asked, "What's going on?" In front of them, someone was paving a path with sand. Paving a path was normal behavior. What was abnormal was that the sack was not only filled with sand, but the person paving the path was also picking out ginger. After picking the ginger out, the sand was laid down. As the commentator, Sheep Egg came close and said, "The ginger will shrivel after a long time.
It can't always be dry ginger. My father said that we should bury the ginger in the sandbag and take it out when we eat it. This saves a portion of the money that is specially used to buy ginger outside. It's not just ginger. There are also onions and garlic. They are all planted in the sand. It's fine as long as they keep warm. In winter, we can eat garlic sprouts every 3 to 5 days. The money we save can be used to buy other things. In a few days, we will plant vegetables in the field training ground. Those that are trampled on during training will be thrown away. Those that are not trampled on can be kept for eating. The shooting range will also plant sorghum. By hiding the targets in the sorghum field, it can also train the soldiers' observation skills. As long as it's under the control of the military camp, we will plant things. Rice and wheat are all planted. During training, the soldiers will do all kinds of tactical movements. In the rice planting area, even if the weather is cold, you have to lie down and endure the smell of wet and manure. The branches and leaves of the wheat will at least leave a red mark on your body. However, during the training at night, when the sound of the charge is suddenly blown, you won't have time to put on the combat uniform and hold a gun. You can only wear pants and find something that can be used as a weapon. Then, you will crawl into the wheat field and gather with the nearby people at a fixed time to form a defensive position. After the introduction, Sheep Egg proudly added, "My father came up with this idea." Oh. Xiao Bei nodded in surprise and asked, "What do we do when the rice and wheat sprouts are crushed?" "Lift them up. If we can't lift them up, give them up or replant them. Let the reconnaissance team lift them up. When they lift them up, they can understand the traces left behind after being crushed. They are familiar with tracking and hiding. My second uncle is in the reconnaissance team," the little boy said proudly. Xiao Bei stuck out his tongue and turned to look at Zhong Hu. He meant that his training method was really good. Zhong Hu, on the other hand, smiled slightly and said to the little ones, "Our family's training for the seedling protection team is even harsher." After that, he shouted, "Number 5, number 6, step out and hide behind the sandbags in front." As soon as he finished speaking, 2 people rushed out of the team. Both of them pulled out the tactical military knife on their legs at the same time and cut open 12 sandbags in a few moves. One of them took off his clothes and threw his pants to the other person. The other person used his fastest speed to make the pants into a tube shape and placed it on the sandpile. He lifted his shirt and lay down beside the sandpile. The person who took off his clothes used his hands to lift up the sand and buried him. He then opened the sandbags and lay down, covering his body with the sandbags. The 2 people's actions were completed within a minute. Xiao Bei and the others were stunned. This is sacrificing one person to cover the other person. The person who sacrificed is the person who went under the sandbags. He gave the illusion that he went into the sandpile and breathed through the passage formed by his trousers. When the enemy thinks that there is no one in the sandpile, they will naturally look through the sandbags and see him. He may pull the trigger of a grenade or rush to the enemy's knife. But the person who is really hiding is the one who uses his clothes to create a little breathing space. Our family's training requires that even if we are underwater and are bleeding from all 7 orifices, we are not allowed to float up. In the land of ice and snow, even if our whole body is frozen, we still have to keep a finger that can move and a trace of consciousness before our lives fade away. Zhang Hu said in a flat tone. Really? Gong Shuhe asked in disbelief. Zhang Hu didn't say anything. He just quickly took off his clothes, leaving only his underwear. He closed his hands and spat a few mouthfuls of saliva on his face. He then grabbed a handful of wet sand and rubbed it against his face, revealing a concave mark on his left cheek. It was obvious that something had pierced through the left side of his face to form a scar. Looking at his body, there were countless crisscrossing scars. It could be seen that some of the new scars had scratched on top of the old scars. The others also took off their clothes. One of the people who had been wearing sunglasses took off his mirror, revealing a hole in his right eye. None of them were unharmed. Big Brother Huzi, you guys. No wonder Big Brother and Big Sister told us to respect you guys. You guys also never called us young ladies or young masters like other people. You guys treat us like children and elders.
You guys have the qualifications. Xiao Bei wiped away his tears and said. Zhang Hu grinned. You guys are children to begin with. We don't need to respect you. We only need to protect you. The wounds on our bodies are nothing. We got injured during training, and we also got new wounds when we were in Luzhou. After that, we entered Tubo. After we were done with Tubo, we went back to secretly fight with Duo Shi in the snowy mountains, grasslands, jungles, and swamps. Fortunately, we all survived. However, many members of the team we led stayed there. Those who looked down on the enemy and nature used their lives to interpret danger. The scars on our bodies are our glory. Don't think that we're the most powerful. That's because we haven't met a united enemy like young Master Xiao Bao and young Lady Cuckoo, especially young Master Xiao Bao. If we were facing him, even if we dared to charge forward, we wouldn't be confident. We didn't know before, but the more experience we have, the deeper our fear of young Master Xiao Bao becomes. That's why we weren't worried when young Master and young Lady took you guys out to play. The little ones were dumbfounded. The others were also confused. It was only when the person lying in the sand couldn't hold his breath and stood up that everyone woke up a little. My brother is that awesome? Xiao Bei asked in shock. Generally awesome, Zhang Hu said with certainty. Chapter 1171. Little Bei and the other children were still in a daze when they heard Zhang Hu's praise for their brother. But I've only seen my brother fight once. It was when he climbed the mountain during the sword meet on Mount Hua. It gave me a very relaxed feeling. It was as if I could fly if I touched something with one hand or one foot. Are you afraid of fighting enemies like my brother on the cliff? Little Bei recalled for a moment. There was a vague shadow of mountain climbing in his mind. Zhang Hu shook his head. It's all weather and all terrain. Our tactics and commanding skills were taught by the little lady. Our fighting and wilderness survival skills were taught by the little young master. Later on, I saw the little young master learning military command, physics, chemistry, and so on from the little lady. The little lady learned economic swindling from the little young master. Oh, it's defense and close combat. At that time, we were still farmers. Most of the others were villagers. We were not as good as you guys. From then on, we started to admire them. Later on, we became a little arrogant. In the end, when Lu Zhou fought in the forest, we realized the gap between us again. After that, we entered a period of peace. After the war in Tubo, we felt that we had experienced too much and became arrogant again. Then, we were sent out to command small groups. Every time we were in a dangerous situation, the moment we commanded the small groups, we couldn't help but think of the tactics the little lady taught us. No matter what we faced, we would never admit defeat. We would always give our men an invincible belief. Therefore, we understood the pressure the little lady had to bear when we first entered Tubo. Everyone is afraid of death, everyone is afraid of failure. However, the little lady gave us the feeling that she was a god, right? Zhang Hu asked the person who had just stood up from the sand. The person nodded solemnly. Yes. When the little lady commanded the battle, she never sighed. Even after a battle, she still had the mood to tell us about the situation on the battlefield. That feeling was wonderful. It made me feel that if I listened to the little lady and followed her, I didn't need to think about anything else. Later on, when I commanded a small group, I understood that it wasn't that I wasn't afraid, but that I couldn't show it. It wasn't that I was indifferent when I saw my men die, but I had to be ruthless. If I wavered even a little, the entire group would collapse. Do you still remember that saying? What saying? Put on your clothes first. It's so cold. I feel pain when I see the scars on your body. Little Bei grimaced. He rubbed his hands on his body as if he wanted to rub off the scars. This lowly official knows. This lowly official knows. It's the boundless ocean, the waves rise and fall. Cuckoo's gunships broke through the waves, forming a majestic formation. The grassland is tender in spring and the snow falls in winter. The goshawk soars and balloons cover the sky and compete with the clouds. The years of the vast desert are hard to cut, returning home for the first time. Killing the enemy and seizing their banners, he smiled and said, "Devil Dao. Who's in the Ming Dynasty and who's in the yesterday?" Military songs resound in the green hills. Once the order is given, blood will be spilled when the soldiers are deployed. This is a kind of momentum, but also a kind of helplessness and choice. Gong Shuhe interrupted. His hands were already trembling so much that he had to grab the sides of his pants. When he spoke, his voice was also trembling. Looking at the scars on Zhang Hu and the others and the indifference in their words, he really didn't know who to tell the shock and fear in his heart. This was the legendary Team Zero protecting the seedlings. As expected, there was no empty seat under the famous name. How could they play with people like this? He rode a horse here and almost died in their hands. Not to mention that they were the earliest battle team of the Zhong family and Wang family. Even if they were killed by ordinary soldiers, the case could be brought to the emperor. Once they took off their clothes, the scars on their body would be exposed, and he would have died in vain. There would be no one in the court who would speak up for him. If he was someone from the Ministry of Justice, Marble, or the Censorate, he would also side with the people who had outstanding military achievements. They were people who fought with their lives and fought for the stability of the Tang Empire with their lives. Would they need evidence or explanation to kill a rank 9 logistics officer who might have a problem? The eyes of the other local children lit up, and they were full of worship. The Team Zero protecting the seedlings really lived up to its name. Strong, extraordinarily strong. If they were in a county, they would probably be completely annihilated if 1,000 enemies came to surround them. It was said that soldiers who had killed before had cold eyes. Now, it was clear that that was not the highest level. A truly ruthless person would kill many enemies and then have a calm gaze. If Xiao Bei and the others didn't always study and receive training, it would be better. At least when they were protected, they wouldn't be too much of a burden. With this thought, the children consciously stood around Xiao Bei and the others, meaning that if they didn't train, they could at least help them block the danger. Let's not talk about other things. Today, I saw the sand paving the road, I saw the things growing on the sand, and I heard that in other aspects of the field, the two functions of training and food are all good. Xiao Bei whispered a few words to his brothers and sisters and praised the logistics department in a timely manner. As soon as he finished speaking, Gong Shuhe, who was smiling like a flower, said shyly, "It should be. This, yellow sand is not the land of the poor, but it can also be praised for nurturing soldiers. Don't say that every grain buries life and death, just look at the garlic sprouts." I just had a flash of inspiration and received the approval of everyone in the team, so I made some achievements. It's not worth mentioning at all. All the children looked at him with disdain. It was obviously the idea of the sheep's egg's father, but in the end, it was taken over by Gong Shuhe. Xiao Bei and the others didn't say much about this matter. They seemed to agree with Gong Shuhe's words. The group continued to stroll forward. The thick smell of meat drifted over with the wind. Fortunately, they had just eaten, so it wasn't very appetizing. Xiao Yuan sniffed and said, "Oh my bones. The life in the logistics department is pretty good. It should be. Soldiers are spirited in training, and they are serious in peacetime. Sweat more and bleed less. Drinking bone soup can strengthen the body." Gong Shuhe compensated and cooperated. The little boy couldn't help but jump out again. It was the sheep's egg's father who thought of the idea. The logistics department raised pigs, fish, and poultry themselves. They scattered barley seeds on the bad ground nearby and fed them with barley. It was a set of breeding. Your family started it first. After the feathers of the poultry were made, they could be put into cloth to keep them warm. After the pig skin was tanned, they took the initiative to sell it to the people nearby. They asked the people what kind of leather items they wanted. When they returned, the logistics craftsman would make it according to the requirements and sell it to the people or exchange it for other things. The craftsmen could earn more money to support their families, and they wouldn't let their hands get rusty. Look at the food we eat. It's a benefit. Then the soldiers in training can have more oil. Today's cooked bone is the reward for the team with the best results in training every half a month. The other teams can only watch. Usually, they don't lack food, but if you eat more good food, you'll feel incompetent and blushed when you see others eating, right? When the sheep heard others praise his father, his face turned red. He explained embarrassedly, "My father said that he can't go to the battlefield to fight, so he has to do more for those who can risk their lives. When a person is alive, he can't say that he's better than everyone else, but at least he can't be worse than others in the field he manages." Xiao Bei and the other 9 people were really satisfied. They smiled and nodded. They even said that they would steal 2 bones to eat later and crack some bone marrow to relieve their cravings. When they came to the kitchen, a group of people wearing white chef's clothes were holding spades and stirring in a big pot. From time to time, someone would use a spoon to scoop a spoonful of oil from the pot and pour it into a jar beside the pot. It seemed that they were frying the oil. The fat on the pig's body didn't smell very good because there were places next to the intestines and other places in the water. There was a faint stench, but the sizzling smell mixed in it was very fragrant. The young man was not afraid of being splashed by the oil. He went to a pot that had almost finished boiling the oil and was only sizzling with oil. He stood on tiptoe and looked inside. He was glared at by the chef who was working. He obediently took a few steps back and said, "Put some salt in the oil. It won't spoil easily." Seeing that he had retreated far away, the chef's expression softened. He nodded and said, "Put it. Now, save the fat. We'll eat vegetable oil in summer and eat fat when the weather is cold. It can resist the cold. Speak properly. This is the patrol inspector." Gong Shuhe continued to act, but the chef glared at him again. He didn't give him any face and said, "This is my territory. I speak." Gong Shuhe snorted and turned to the young man. "Don't mind him. His name is Song Liang. He has a bad temper. Most people don't give him face. He's used to it. His second brother is the leader of the 3rd Battalion." The young man rolled his eyes at Gong Shuhe and laughed coldly. He turned around and returned to the group. The older sister, Big Man, said to Gong Shuhe, "You have such a good mind. You should go to the front lines and scheme against the enemy. The Battle of Red Cliff didn't need Gong Jin. You could have made Cao Cao kill Kai Mao and Zhong Yun." Gong Shuhe shivered and broke out in a cold sweat. The local kids were stunned and puzzled, but the chef laughed loudly. Obviously, he had some knowledge. He stopped what he was doing and said to Xiao Bei and the others, "Do you want to eat oil? Pick a few pieces of the brown ones." Xiao Bei swallowed hard. He felt that the oil was too big. He looked at the other kids and nodded. "Okay, eat them as snacks." When the young boy heard that there was good food, he was very happy. However, he did not understand what was going on. He looked at Xiao Yuan, who was explaining things to the others. Xiao Yuan smiled and said in a small voice, "Gong Shuhe wants to play the game of sowing discord. He wants to kill with a borrowed knife. He thinks too highly of himself. We are very angry. After today, we will deal with him." The young boy still did not understand, but he was relieved. Xiao Yuan's last sentence was effective. It was good that they could deal with Gong Shuhe. The oil sizzled in a chipped bowl and was carried by the local children. As they walked, they ate. The oil in the bowl was not depleted, and when they bit into it, it kept coming out. The local children ate very happily, sucking their fingers from time to time. Xiao Bei and the others, on the other hand, were sick of the taste. Xiao Bei and the others pinched their noses and went over to take a look. They found that the pigsty was relatively clean. When they opened their noses, the smell was not strong. There was a groove that was used to wash the feces out. It seemed that there was either a pond or a biogas cellar underneath. It was a very good arrangement. Although the bacteria in the pig feces were eaten by fish and could easily be transmitted to humans, as long as they did not eat sashimi and cooked it, there was no problem. Suddenly, Xiao Bei thought of something important. He asked nervously, "There are fish in the pond, and ducks and geese. They won't eat the fish, right?" "No, they won't. Gong Shuhe waved his hand and explained with a smile, "Back then, I thought about this matter, so I came up with an idea. How could we let the two coexist?" After many inspirations, someone finally understood my intentions. Under my hints, they told me the method of using nets to separate the breeding. My several inspirations finally paid off, and my efforts were not in vain. It's difficult. Sometimes, it's more difficult to cultivate subordinates than to achieve results. Chapter 1172. Gong Shubing really does have good literary talent and a good train of thought. Xiao Bei looked around and praised him. It's not worth mentioning. It's not worth mentioning. Mobilizing the enthusiasm of your subordinates is something an official in a small position should do. If you do it seriously, you'll succeed. If you don't take a single step, you'll go through 1,000 mountains and 10,000 rivers. Gong Shuhe looked up at the sky. After he finished speaking, he pursed his lips tightly. His brows furrowed slightly, and his gaze was deep. Unfortunately, Xiao Bei and the others were too short, and they were too close. They couldn't see his expression when he looked up. Xiao Bei tried to look up, but he didn't see anything. He asked, "What's the next step?" "Taking a single step, 10,000 rivers and 1,000 mountains. The clouds are on the horizon, and the heart is here. But taking a single step is better than not taking a single step. Although the mountains and rivers are far away, there is no wish, no regret, and no words." Gong Shuhe continued to express his feelings. Even the local children were moved. 2 of them had tears in their eyes. He was too great. He was too noble. Gong Shuhe thought the same. He turned his head and deeply understood a saying. The higher the expectations, the greater the disappointment. The people in the seedling protection team had experienced countless life and death situations. They didn't have any expression on their faces. The patrol envoys had a different look in their eyes. How could he describe it? They were like people watching a play. "Follow me. There's also something good." Gong Shuhe felt a little guilty. Facing the patrol envoys, he felt like he was being seen through. It was strange. Did they not have any sympathy? Had he not said enough? Why were they all like blocks of wood? Suppressing his uneasy thoughts, Gong Shuhe took the lead and walked in front. He decided to let Xiao Bei and the others see something that could shock them. The children didn't say much and continued to follow. The little boy was a little shaken. He leaned close to Xiao Bei and quietly said, "I think Gong Shuhe is not bad." "Not bad, my ass. You want to fool people with just a few words?" "Xiao Yuan, tell this little brother what it means to be emotional," Xiao Bei replied with disdain. Little Yuan immediately responded. He nudged the little boy and said, "Don't listen to Xiao Bei. To be honest, this Gong Shu he really can't be picked on. Don't you think so?" The little boy nodded hesitantly, and Xiao Yuan said, "When we came here, we didn't think about it thoroughly. Who would have thought that there would be people who do practical things? There must be prejudice when looking at people. Let's say that we look forward to the Jiu Yuan County. On the boat, we thought that the Jiu Yuan County was full of spring, with green river on both sides, and there was always a bright sun on both sides. That piece of magnificence was truly peerless. That kind of deep affection was indescribable, but no matter what, he could not figure it out. At the end of his line of sight, there was only pure yellow sand. We think that the Jiu Yuan, who is similar to us, must live a happy life. He has beautiful clothes to wear every day. He can eat delicacies every day like the San Shui County. He just needs to play happily all day long and doesn't have to bear the suffering of the world. But now I have to say that the children of the Jiu Yuan are not ordinary. After the cold wind, what is left is still a bright smile. They are more sensible than other children. The nursery rhymes they sing resound for a longer time. When the stars are shining and the moon is sleeping in each other's arms, how can the children of the mainland know the bitter cold of the frontier fortress? If the children of the scholars of the capital are candles, then the children of businessmen must be red furnaces, and you are dewdrops. You don't need warmth, because you are used to suffering. You don't need pity, because you have been guarding, following the footsteps of your family with a young body, in the border, on the river, bravely chasing. Maybe, the children of the capital will never know your hard work, but you will smile and bless them. Maybe, in the cold rain, you grit your teeth and bear the loneliness, but you keep telling yourself, don't cry, I'm just making it up, Xiao Bei, you see, it's all your fault, isn't it? Xiao Yuan finally made the little boy cry. He was flustered and didn't know what to do. He asked Xiao Bei for help. It's okay. You go. Xiao Bei waved to Gong Shuhe, who was looking back at him, and then pulled the little boy and said, Look, I just said that Gong Shuhe is fooling people. Who doesn't know how to be emotional? He just wants us to let him go. If he is silent all the way, we may give him a chance, but he talks too much. If we really let him go, it will be the biggest injustice to Yong Danzi's father, right? The little boy wiped his tears and said with a pout, I know what you said makes sense, but why do I still feel so sad when I hear it? That's because Xiao Yuan can't do it. My brother said before that life is sad enough. Why write other words to make people more sad? If we can't reach the realm of no joy and no sorrow, then try to make people happy. The real good article is to make people laugh and forget after reading it, not to be engraved in their hearts after a painful experience. If you are happy, you don't need to remember me. Xiao Bei continued to find reasons to comfort the little boy who was crying. Nonsense, what did you ask for just now? Do you think it's easy for me? If you don't like it, you can find a child about my age in Tang Dynasty and let him say something. Let me see who can do it. Xiao Yuan did not want to do it. He was very tired just now. Find someone about your age who is better than you, right? My brother. Xiao Bei mentioned a person. Xiao Yuan lowered his head. Xiao Bei said again, my sister. Xiao Yuan lowered his head even more. See, I'm not wrong, right? Some people don't know how high the sky is or how deep the earth is. They only studied for a few years, yet they dare to show off. You will be much better than them in the future. Xiao Bei continued to attack Xiao Yuan while comforting the little boy. The little boy did not agree with Xiao Bei's words at all. He enviously said, When can I be like Xiao Yuan? Yong Danzi's sister will definitely like to play with me. You are hopeless. I hate people who disregard their own character to please girls. Don't you think so, Xiao Yuan? Xiao Bei asked the little boy to be strong. Xiao Yuan immediately nodded. Yes, Xiao Bei is right. See, Xiao Yuan is the best. He doesn't need to please me. I just want him to have a fair character. Xiao Bei was very satisfied. The little boy was speechless. He waved his fist firmly because he understood. Gong Shuhe did not know that he had been crossed out in the hearts of Xiao Bei and the others. He was still trying to find a way to save himself. He led everyone to a workshop in the logistics department that he was in charge of. From 100 steps away, they could hear noises coming from the workshop. There was the sound of grinding and the sound of a hammer falling on an anvil. They could also see thick smoke curling up and the sound of wood being cut. After taking 2 steps forward, Gong Shuhe stopped. He turned around and shouted at Xiao Bei and the others, Do you see the smoke in front? Do you hear it? Ah. Xiao Bei frowned and replied, Don't shout. It hurts my ears. I can hear it. I'm used to it. Gong Shuhe continued to shout, I'm always waiting in the workshop. I can't help it. F*CKU. Xiao Bei was infuriated by Gong Shuhe's pretentious behavior. She no longer acted like a lady and cursed under her breath. She turned around and walked back to prevent Gong Shuhe from continuing to shout. The workshop's voice wasn't loud enough for him to shout. Everyone followed Xiao Bei and retreated another 50 steps. The workshop was even quieter. Only then did they stop. Xiao Bei scratched his ear and asked Gong Shuhe, Why did you ask us to come here? Gong Shuhe shouted, The workshop is in front. If you shout into my ear again, I'll hit you. Xiao Bei glared at him. Speak. What is the logistics workshop that you are in charge of? Gong Shuhe looked at the unfriendly eyes of Zhang Hu and the others and said softly, "The workshop that I am in charge of is actually used to modify guns. You have to know that there are differences in height and requirements for guns. The same gun is not suitable for everyone. For example, the length of the gun butt is related to the length of the arm, the quality of the eyes, and the stability of the body. There are also different requirements for the length of the gun barrel. For example, because of habit, there are different requirements for the recoil. For example, Xiao Bei couldn't take it anymore, so he pulled out his gun and pointed it at Gong Shuhe. Take my gun, for example. It was made according to my hand shape. If you keep talking nonsense, I will let you experience the difference between a bullet and a bullet." Xiao Bei was not lying. The bullets in her gun were bombs. In order to pursue lethality with low recoil, only a portion of the Golden Guards in the entire Tang Empire were equipped with such weapons. As for whether it violated international law, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not care. They both planned to use poison gas bullets. Violation of international law? Did the words little boy and fatty know about these two cute children? Gong Shuhe recognized the gun and did not dare to bet his life on whether the other party dared to pull the trigger. He quickly said, "Actually, it's the method that young Dan Zi's father thought of to encourage soldiers with good marksmanship and high combat skills," the little boy interrupted. Chapter 1173. It's young Dan Zi's father again. Xiao Bei and the others looked at each other and nodded tacitly. Their gazes towards Gong Shuhe were filled with hostility. They had come because young Dan Zi's father's contributions had been suppressed. Gong Shuhe also realized that things were getting out of hand. He reached into his pocket and twisted a few notes with his fingers. He slowly took them out and handed them to Xiao Bei. He smiled and said, "According to the rules, I have to divide the benefits I get. Everyone who sees it has a share." Xiao Bei did not refuse. He took them and counted them seriously. He muttered, 100 coins, 200 coins, 300 coins. Yes, Gong Shuhe corrected softly. "Oh, 600 coins in total. How much salary does a 9th grade soldier get every year?" Xiao Bei looked at Xiao Yuan. Xiao Yuan shook his head in confusion. "I don't know." "Why don't you keep track of it? There are many things happening in the world. Do you think I remember?" "Let's ask someone later." "I know. Depending on the type of army and the military region, the salary varies. In the past, it was land and food. Now, it's converted into money. I get around 5 coins and 441 coins a month." Gong Shuhe reported. Xiao Bei took the money and slapped it on his thigh. "Yo, there's even a small change. 10 years of salary. You're really rich. What's the crime of being greedy for military expenses? You should be beheaded, right? Otherwise, you should be whipped until you die. Then, you'll be exiled." The boy did not understand, but it did not affect him from venting. "I've been greedy for money. I know that money is important in the military. Money, food, and military equipment are no small matter. A single coin of greed can destroy a hero's soul. Soldiers who charge are not afraid of dyeing the ground with blood. I know this, so I don't dare to let my soldiers bleed and cry while holding bad weapons. I won't die in peace." Gong Shuhe quickly explained. He could not bear the crime. He was not like the local logistics officials. The local officials were only greedy because their lives were not good. They were greedy for money from military logistics. Even 100 heads would not be enough. "That's how I get my money." Without waiting for Gong Shuhe to finish speaking, Xiao Bei walked forward and put away the money. He took a wet towel from someone beside him and wiped his hands. He then walked to the storeroom, where all sorts of noise came from. Someone stepped forward and pulled open the 2-meter-wide doors of the warehouse, revealing the scene inside. The situation was different from what Xiao Bei and the others had imagined. It was not a murky atmosphere where the workers were working without any protection. All kinds of equipment inside were spaced apart and neatly arranged according to different areas. The people working wore thin leather gloves and protective masks that protruded out in front of their mouths. They were all bald and wore boots of unknown leather. Looking at the ground, it seemed that it had been artificially cut out into small grids. In the middle of the grids, there was a gap of 1 inch wide with water flowing through it. The powder that fell from the work was immediately washed away by the water. "Stop!" Xiao Bei's voice was very high in decibels, and its penetrating power was strong enough that it could be heard over the noise of the grinding wheels and the air cutter. His shout had an effect. Everyone in the warehouse stopped what they were doing and turned to look at him. "I am the patrol inspector of the Tang Empire, Zhang Xiaobei. May I ask who his father is?" Xiaobei introduced himself and pointed at Yong Danzi. Everyone in the warehouse looked at one person at the same time. This person was standing next to an anvil. He held a piece of paper in one hand and a triangular ruler in the other. He did not follow everyone's gaze to himself. Instead, he looked at Xiaobei. There was a pencil between his bald head and his ear. "Ha! Let me guess. It's you. Am I right?" Xiaobei looked at the person confidently with a smile. The person who was pointed at took off the string of his mask. He hesitated for a moment before replying, "Impressive. You got it right in one guess." "Ha!" Xiaobei guessed it and happily waved his fist. He then asked, "What is your surname? Is it Yong?" The person nodded with a rich expression. Without waiting for Xiaobei to continue, he said, "My name is Fei, and my courtesy name is Yun Teng." Xiaobei was surprised. He actually had a courtesy name. He must have some knowledge. He walked in front of the person with his hands clasped behind his back and looked at the paper. There was a picture on it. Xiaobei recognized it. As for what picture it was, Xiaobei coughed and turned around. "Sister, come and help me look at the picture." Xiao Zhu followed and recognized what it was at a glance. It's a three-dimensional perspective picture of a lathe. It looks very complicated. "Where did you get it?" Xiaobei found the key point. How could there be a blueprint of a lathe in this place? Yong Yun Teng did not answer. He smiled reservedly and touched the pencil between his ears while holding the triangular ruler. Xiaobei and Xiao Zhu understood. He drew it himself, but it was different from the sketches and gouache that Xiao Zhu usually drew. Xiaobei felt the pressure from the technology. He took a deep breath and asked, "What do you mean? Why did you draw it? Where did you hide the real thing?" Yong Yun Teng turned around and walked to the left side of the warehouse. There were many handicrafts made of wood, such as gears, shafts, connecting rods, and other things. He said to the children who followed him, "This is the real thing. I need to make a few parts that are more precise. I don't have any tools, so I want to make some tools first." The grinding machines and cutting machines in the warehouse were given by the imperial court. "I will use them to make the parts one need into wood. After every small part is assembled successfully, I will turn it into cast iron and make a simple lathe. Then, I will use it to process better tools to make an even more precise lathe." "Why don't you make a big lathe and then turn it into cast iron parts?" Xiaobei asked like a child who loved to learn. "Because there are many steps to assembling wood, the force on the parts will increase. They will break before they can turn," Yong Yun Teng explained. "Okay, come with us. We have something to ask you. Gong Shuhe, you are not allowed to follow." Xiaobei reached out and touched the polished wooden parts. He could not hide the excitement on his face as he spoke to Yong Yun Teng. "The inspector is asking you a question. You must answer truthfully. You cannot make things up." Gong Shuhe looked at Yong Yun Teng with a serious face. As soon as he said that, he felt his chest tighten. He flew backward and crashed into a pile of wood. He did not know which part of his body hurt the most. Good kick. Who told him to talk too much? Xiaobei looked at Zhang Hu, who had sent him flying, with satisfaction. Yong Yun Ting followed everyone. When he was about to leave, he paused and said, "Finish today's work. I will treat you to drinks tonight." "Dad, do we still have money to treat people to drinks?" Yong Danzi raised his head and asked. "We will soon," Yong Fei said. "Where did you get the money?"
Young Danzi continued to ask. I have learned both civil and martial arts. I will serve the royal family. Young Fei looked at Xiao Bei and the others.
Xiao Hai looked sideways and whispered, "You are very confident." He said that he wanted Young Fei to follow them, but in the end, he was the one who found the place to talk.
They entered a 4-room warehouse. The last room was actually a study.
There were paintings and scrolls on the wall. There was a faint smell of ink.
It was not the stinky kind. The 9 children were shocked. They were not shocked by the layout of the study.
They were shocked that this study belonged to an unranked craftsman in the local army logistics department.
You are occupying a room of 60 square meters for a study?
Why? At first, Xiao Bei was biased towards Young Danzi's father. He thought that Young Danzi's ability was suppressed and that he was living a wronged life. When he saw the study, he could not help but ask impartially. After speaking, Xiao Bei turned to leave. At this moment, Yang Yun-ting finally felt afraid. If he really let the children leave, what if they did not listen to his explanation and directly attacked him? He quickly said, "Wait a minute. I have a reason." Xiao Bei gave him face and stopped. He raised his hand to touch the door frame, then leaned closer to smell it. "What is it?" "It smells like gasoline." "Explain. Explain this smell first."
"This is an anti-corrosive paint that I created myself."
"There is gasoline in it."
"The gasoline is made by evaporating and cooling oil. I have a junior brother in the Ministry of Works. When it comes to craftsmanship, even 3 of him cannot compare to 1 of me. Later on, I could no longer improve my craftsmanship. I decided to change my profession and study literature. I even passed the high scholar examination. Later on, I realized that being an official is more tiring than being a craftsman. If a craftsman makes something good, it is good. If it is not good, it is not good. Being an official is different. It is hard to tell whether it is good or bad. Take Gong Shuhe for example. Others think that he is a bad official, but I think that he is a good official. Yang Yun-tang took a thermos bottle from the side and poured water for everyone. Speaking of which, he actually had a porcelain thermos bottle. He did not know who made it for him. Chapter 1174. The cups on the table were filled with water, and the thermos was empty. Yang Yunting saw that no one wanted to drink, so he didn't force them. He stood beside the table and continued, "Gong Shuhe, this person." "Wait a minute, who is your junior?" Xiao Hai asked.
Yes. Let's talk about your junior first. He's too outrageous.
He dared to leak the country's military secrets.
Let's capture him first."
Xiao Bei reacted.
Yang Yunting was stunned and quickly explained, "My junior didn't say the exact steps. He only said that the oil used by the tractors in the capital was evaporated from oil. There are different kinds of oil, and they were taken according to the temperature of the evaporation. After I found out, I figured everything out myself."
"How could my junior be considered a leak?"
"Hey, nonsense.
He didn't tell you what the oil was evaporated from."
"How can you make gasoline just by looking at the oil? Someone, go and tell my brother and sister. When my brother and sister come, I'll tell you about the leak."
"Let's talk about another thing.
When I first heard people talk about you, I thought you were a good person."
Xiao Bei didn't want to agree with Yang Yunting.
In the room, Yang Danzi was the most nervous.
Everyone was fine before. How did the target become his father?
Yang Yunting smiled and glanced at the table. Drink water, drink water."
After everyone ignored him, he continued to stand there.
Everyone else was standing there. He rubbed his hands together and said awkwardly, "What my junior said is very important, but I can guarantee that I didn't tell anyone. I did the experiment under the guise of distilling wine. Wait until my brother and sister come." Xiao Bei continued to ignore him.
"Okay, let's talk about Gong Shuhe. When I became a high scholar, I wanted to continue taking the exam.
I failed twice, so I went to Hunan province to become a village official. The taste of yellow wine in the village was very strong. Every time an official heard about it, he would send someone to ask for it. 6 years ago, the county official's brother got married and ordered the village to buy wine. Because there wasn't enough, my position as a village official was removed. Young Yunting said and drank a cup of water. This time, Xiao Bei did not rush him. Instead, he said, "Tell me the county where the registrar is located." Yang Yunting's eyes revealed a trace of excitement as he continued, "Yes, I couldn't become the village chief, so I came out with him and his mother. I didn't dare to stay around. Even if I wasn't targeted by the registrar, I still felt embarrassed." Together with the parents and siblings on both sides, the whole family got on the boat. "I heard that the more north you go, the more money you will get to teach in school. I am also a Juren, so I should get more money." Going north, far from Hunan province, we followed the boat all the way to Feng-en. Now Yang Danner's grandfather and grandfather are also in Feng-en, so our family came to Jiuyuan County. 4 years ago, my younger brother, as a technician, tested the power of the third-generation steam engine ship against the current. As a result, when we arrived at Feng-en, the ship broke down. To be precise, the power room of the ship broke down. We had to let the tracker drag the ship to the dock for maintenance. Then, you coincidentally saw your junior brother and came into contact with him. You found out more about him and couldn't help but come up with some wicked ideas. Using the excuse of serving the army, you lowered your status and ran into the army's logistics department to do some dirty things, right? Xiao Bei helped to explain. "My father didn't do bad things," Young Danner retorted with a stiff neck. Xiao Yuan touched Xiao Bei's arm, and Xiao Bei smiled embarrassedly. "I used to tell stories to Panner and others." When she smiled, the atmosphere in the room was much better, and the nervous children breathed a sigh of relief. Yang Yunting rubbed his son's head and said, "It wasn't a coincidence. My younger brother knew that I was in Feng-en, so after he stopped the ship, he deliberately came to find me. At that time, I was installing a hydroelectric generator on the Zhuangzi of a rich family that had just moved in. I wanted to make Zhuangzi's night as bright as day." It was only later that I found out that he wasn't a rich person, but rather someone sent by the imperial court to examine the operation of various things under different climates. At the same time, he was to discover the local craftsman. When my younger brother came, he got in touch with that rich person and then taught me the blueprints of the steam engine. I studied it for 3 days and found the problem. I also fixed the ship's power source. After that, my younger brother advised me to enter the Ministry of Works, saying that there was a place in the Ministry of Works that was full of skilled people. The salary was also high, to the point that I was scared after hearing it. But I thought that if I followed him, I would have to learn a lot of skills from scratch. Others would look down on me and think that I was riding on my younger brother's coattails. I was a Juren, and my relatives on both sides followed me. I couldn't take them there to be laughed at. At that time, I thought in my heart that if I didn't get something out of hand, I would never enter the Ministry of Works. My younger brother also supported me. He said that I used to be the most capable and smart, so he sent me learning materials. I studied for a year. I found that I didn't have anything on hand, and it was too expensive to buy. What should I do? Go to the logistics department of the army. There are a lot of things there, but the money is a little less. Xiao Bei followed the words. Yang Yunting clapped his hands as if he had met a confidant. "Yes, I thought about it for 2 days before I thought of it. You are still the best." "It's just so," Xiao Bei said shyly. "I thought about it for 2 days. I handed in my household registration and told my identity. I entered the army of Jiuyuan County and became a logistics craftsman. I found 2 things. There were things, but I couldn't use them casually. The second was Gong Shu He, who was clearly a villain. I began to think about him again. After half a month, I finally figured it out. A villain is good. A villain pursues profit. If he wants 1 point, I will give him 2 points, as long as I have enough materials to use." I had an idea. I didn't have money, so I couldn't give it to him. But he was also an official. An official needs political achievements. I began to design ideas for the places he was in charge of to get political achievements.
I think you have seen it all the way. I didn't tell him directly.
I said that a villain like him would not only not be grateful to me, but would also retaliate against me, thinking that he was not as good as me.
I can make wine. It's cold in the north.
I propose to use barley to make wine to keep everyone warm when it's cold.
Gong Shu he liked to look for me. He asked me to make good wine for him. I drank with him.
After drinking for a while, I got drunk. I kept talking about all kinds of ways to build the camp. He even said that if I showed the methods to the higher-ranking officials, I would be rewarded and put in an important position by the court. He also said that even if I was afraid of being targeted by the imperial court, I could still sell it to the officers of the other military camps. If I could get a sum of money, it would be a sum of money. Plus, with the logistics and trading with the commoners, it would be another sum of money. Speaking of this, Yang Yunting stopped and looked at Xiaobei and others without saying anything. The 9 children nodded almost at the same time.
Dad, when can we go to the capital?
Didn't you say that we can go to the Ministry of Works?
Yang Danzi's IQ was obviously not as good as Xiaobei's, and he asked expectantly.
Soon, soon.
Yang Yunting repeated and sighed again.
If that's the case, your stepping stone is the lathe map. You, who are always bullied in the eyes of others, are actually plotting against Gong Shuhe. When he thinks that he's getting benefits and earning money, you can act according to your thoughts without worry, and he's covering for you. In fact, I feel that you can be an official now. If you meet a registrar who wants wine, you can definitely scheme against him to death.
Many times, you don't need to use a knife to kill people.
After Xiaobei finished speaking, he suddenly felt that this matter was not fun at all. One was a soldier who was being schemed against, while the other was a high school graduate who wanted to break through the shackles of his craftsmanship and improve it. The teacher, who had a strong learning ability, designed one plan after another that had a huge positive effect on military logistics on the road to higher levels of industrial technology. This kind of thinking, which many higher-ranked officers yearned for but could not reach, was actually a disguise thrown out by him in the process of protecting his research. How could the logistics officers who were thinking of the barracks endure this?
Geniuses are all crazy.
Should I thank Gong Shuhe for giving Yang Yunting time to research technology, or should I blame Gong Shuhe for bullying his subordinates? Should I praise Yang Yunting's spirit of research over the years, or should I punish him for framing others?
Xiaobei lowered his head and muttered. Yang Yunting stood there and did not make a sound. He waited for the group of children in front of him to judge him. Chapter 1175.
For a moment, other than the sound of panting, there was no other sound in the room.
Yang Yunting's eyelids kept blinking. Even if his body did not show any signs of trembling, it could not hide his panic. Life and death, honor and disgrace were all in the hands of the 9 children.
The local children were frightened.
They kept looking at Xiaobei and the others. Yang Danzi came to his father's side.
He grabbed the corner of his father's clothes with both hands and pursed his lips. Xiaobei's face was so worried that it looked like a flower. The other 8 people also had different expressions. Some were looking at the roof, some were looking at the ground, and some were looking around. Zhang Hu and the other guards who followed in were expressionless and motionless. It seemed that other people's matters had nothing to do with them.
"Let's have a short meeting," Xiaohai said at the crucial moment.
The other children nodded. "Wait, we'll go out and discuss.
We'll be back in a while."
Before they went out, Xiaobei said something to Yang Yunting that seemed to be reminding and warning him. The Tang patrol officials gathered outside the door and whispered for a full 15 minutes.
Then they came back with heavy faces.
Xiaobei, the special spokesperson, said, "Yang Yunting, we have made a decision about your matter." Hearing this, Yang Yunting tried to make himself look as calm as possible.
He squeezed out an out-of-shape smile. The way the muscles on his face kept moving made him look like he was crying.
"We've decided to leave the matter of you and Gong Shu to your brother and sister to decide." Xiaobei's tender and clear voice sounded again.
Why?
Yong Yunting squeezed out a sentence from his throat. It's because your matters are too complicated. We're too young and haven't learned much, so we're stumped. Face is important to us, but justice is even more important. Who asked us to be patrol inspectors? This time, many people are going to be unlucky, especially the few patrol inspectors who patrol the various armies. The imperial court gave them a lot of benefits, not just for show. Xiao Bei looked very unhappy. Perhaps it was because she, who thought of herself as an adult, finally realized that they could not handle everything. Yong Yunting sighed and did not speak again. He nodded to show that he accepted his fate. However, his son, Yong Danzi, gathered his courage and asked Xiao Bei, "My father did something wrong." "What about your father?" "Your father is the Minister of Works."
"Would he be fine if someone leaked the information?" "Whether my father is fine or not has nothing to do with me."
"I'm not going to absolve my father and say that it's the responsibility of the people in the Ministry of Works.
My father doesn't know."
"I'm just saying that I'll let whoever makes my father uncomfortable know what it means to be uncomfortable. Because I know that my father is the best. He is good to his family, good to his subordinates, good to his colleagues, good to his work, and loyal to the great Tang. My father is a true gentleman, at least more so than my brother, even though my brother always says that he is a true gentleman." Then, he turned to the local children and said, "Come with us. We'll treat you to dinner."
"I'm not going. I want to accompany my father."
Yong Danzi clearly didn't think that food was more important than family, even if he could eat the food personally cooked by Zhang Xiaobao. Yong Yunting patted his son's head in relief. "Go, you can speak for your father when you go."
"All right."
Yong Danzi rolled his eyes and agreed. When Xiao Bei and the others returned to the restaurant, Zhang Xiaobao had already prepared the food. He had received the news in advance that his younger brother and sister wanted to invite others to dinner and had some troublesome matters to deal with. There was a table that was 3 meters long, 2 meters wide, and 1 meter tall. There were no less than 16 dishes on it. They were all placed on large plates, but there were no stools. It seemed that they were planning to let the children eat as they pleased in a buffet style.
Zhang.
Xiao Bao, my father didn't betray the great Tang. As soon as the banquet started, Yong Danzi grabbed the hem of his clothes with both hands and looked up at Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao looked serious and nodded firmly.
"I already know."
"Don't worry, your father won't be worse than before."
"Will he be executed?"
Yong Danzi was still nervous.
"Why are you so stupid? I already said that you'll be better than before. How can you live after you die?"
"You're much more stupid than your sister."
"Eat," the little boy said happily to Yong Danzi. "Do you want to be beaten? Afraid of you? If you have the guts, let's fight on horseback." Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not accompany the children to eat, leaving enough space for the children to play.
The two sat opposite each other and cooked hot pot, the copper hot pot with a chimney, burning charcoal. With pickled cabbage, fatty meat slices as the base, and some small crabs and shrimps, there are noodles, blood sausage, frozen tofu in the plate, only cabbage, and the rest are all fresh mutton slices. The wine pot is boiling with white wine, and the dipping sauce is simple chives and garlic sauce. There is no fermented bean curd. The main thing is that fermented bean curd and pickled cabbage are more enjoyable than eating raw seafood. The smell is unbearable for the two.
"Eat. I didn't expect to find talents in the Jiu Yuan."
Zhang Xiaobao picked up a piece of meat and swung it back and forth in the pot, saying happily, "It's the inspector's dereliction of duty." It's estimated that they thought that the local army would not have any major problems, so they dared to deal with it. Unlike the personnel of the inspection administrative officials, the local officials always have such an excuse to reach out. My opinion is to assign the inspection personnel. Wang Wan did not move her chopsticks, and her eyes looked at the fire coming out of the hot pot chimney. Zhang Xiaobao simply threw half a plate of meat into the hot pot, boiled it like a stew, picked up the wine pot and tested the temperature. When it was hot, he poured a cup for Wang Wan and himself, and held the wine cup and drank the 3 coins of wine in it. Then he took a deep breath,
smacked his lips twice, and said, "Good wine, worthy of Wuliangye."
Wang Wan couldn't help but laugh. "You can pull it down, the wine is indeed distilled from 5 kinds of grains, and it has been stored for several years, but what does it have to do with the Wuliangye you said?" "The quality and taste of Wuliangye depends on the wine mud when it is stored in the cellar, okay?" "Is there such a thing?" "I really don't know, I just think that all the wines that have been in the cellar for a long time are good to drink. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many famous wines in the world. Every kind of famous wine is related to the cellar age. If there is no wine that belongs to its own history, no matter how good the taste is, it won't be praised. For example, old vinegar, black tea, ambergris, and even a lot of wood used to make violins. Of course, those with short shelf life don't count. Look at the United States, they never take the initiative to mention their own history. Why?
Isn't it because their history is short and they don't have a heritage?
They are a colonial country, and the local people have a history, but it will not be recognized by the colonial descendants as their own history. This wine, the people at that time drank, was basically blended, and blended to have a unique taste. Unfortunately, no matter how blended, it can only deceive people who don't understand wine.
People like me, they can't be deceived." Zhang Xiaobao held the wine cup, and his eyes were deep, following the rotation of the wine cup.
Wang Wan glanced at Zhang Xiaobao. "Okay, don't be a melancholy bard there. That is not a glass cup for drinking wine, it is porcelain. When you talk about wine, are you looking at the wine cup or the cup? I know you have good taste and experience, so you can taste the quality of the wine." "Wrong, I look at the wine cup to tell others that I don't know how to drink, so I never order wine of many years. Every time I drink, I tell the waiter to give me the worst blended wine. That way, they can't deceive me, and I only pay for the worst wine." "They must be stupid, right?" "I am stupid. They actually mixed ordinary white wine into my orange juice and called it a cocktail. In the end, I paid for the whole cup of wine. Is orange juice and wine the same price?" "Now we are talking about how to deal with this matter, and it has nothing to do with wine. I was led astray by you." Wang Wan finally reacted. Zhang Xiaobao put down the wine cup, pondered for a moment, and said, "You didn't. There are many legends about the origin of the name of the cocktail, but I think they are all incorrect. The biggest characteristic of this wine is that it has different flavors and distinct levels. In order to show this, the color of the wine is very rich, just like the gall chicken. The color of the body is divided into different levels, from head to tail, so it is called this name. The translated chicken is not the head, but the head. The color of the wine is the same as the color of the gall chicken. Some people just drink at random and don't try to taste every kind of wine that is blended in. Some people specifically point out every kind of wine that is added in to show their purity and knowledge. What about you? Which one do you choose?" Wang Wan was led astray again. "I choose the one with relatively less orange juice. Otherwise, it is not worth spending the money to buy juice. But many young people choose to drink casually, and many people who feel that they have status specifically taste it. What I admire most is the old people drinking this wine. After drinking a mouthful of wine, the smile on their face is more complex and chaotic than the cocktail." As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he poured himself another cup. Wang Wan pretended to be enlightened and nodded, then asked, "Is it related to what I just said about how to deal with this matter?" "Yes, the reason why the old people are better at tasting wine is because they have experienced too many years. Time is actually a cocktail. When too much time has passed, we realize that there is no need to distinguish the taste of each age. Life is full of ups and downs. Without color, what is the point of living? So, since Yang Fei made things complicated for simple purposes, we will agree with him, and then deal with him according to his thoughts. Let him slowly understand the complexity of the simple punishment." Zhang Xiaobao raised his head and drank all the wine in the cup. Wang Wan reached out to stop Zhang Xiaobao before he touched the wine pot and said, "You don't need to drink to drown your sorrows in other people's matters, right? You still haven't said how to deal with him, for example. For example, in the past, he was afraid that he didn't have the ability. In fact, he didn't want to be inferior to others, at least not inferior to his junior brother. We arranged for him to do chores under his junior brother, clean the laboratory equipment, and hand tools and experimental materials to other researchers. Eat. Don't let me eat alone. Zhang Xiaobao reached out with his chopsticks and scooped up a lot of meat and put it on the plate in front of Wang Wan. Oh. Wang Wan nodded and lowered her head to eat the meat. She threw the small crabs that were accidentally brought up back into the pot and drank a cup of wine. She said, "Wu Yangye is really good, but don't you think that if we deal with it according to what you said, we will be burying a talent?" Zhang Xiaobao didn't answer immediately. He continued to put a lot of food into the pot and covered it with a lid that had a hole in the middle that could fit the chimney. He listened for a while before saying, "It's not burying." Wang Wan blinked and waited for him to continue. Yang Yunting may think that he has learned very well. A person who designed a lathe through self-study, in my opinion, he is still far from it. I don't think that he is very good at learning to this extent in 4 years. Maybe he is proud, but can he be more proud than you and me? From now on, if I don't do other tiring things, I will be like him. In 2 years, I can make a better lathe than him. Who can go to the Ministry of Works Research Department isn't a genius. If I really let him be an important researcher, how long will he have to delay that project? Letting him do chores is a simple order. Learning while doing chores is complicated. I let him see the abilities of others, let him understand the profoundness of the industry as a whole, and let him understand that one person is not as good as a team with good teamwork. Didn't we just see the blueprint that he designed? The lathe is really good. He thinks that he is qualified to enter the Ministry of Works with that blueprint. I think he thinks that he can be above others, but that is because his junior kept secretly showing him the blueprint of the Ministry of Works lathe. His results are based on other people's hard work. If we don't train him, the Ministry of Works won't be able to control him in the future. I can't bear to kill him, right? After saying this, Zhang Xiaobao looked at the wine cup in silence. Wang Wan helped Zhang Xiaobao fill the wine cup. Yes, you are right. Just like you, when we caught you, we wouldn't kill you. We would let you hand over your property first, then train you and let you receive ideological education. Yang Fei arranged this. What about Gong Shuhe? Him. Haha, bring him along. I have a better place to settle him. To be honest, I prefer to deal with Gong Shuhe slowly. Zhang Xiaobao suddenly became happy, like a child who had found a new toy. Chapter 1176. The moon has set once again, and the sun has risen once again. Zhang Xiaobao and his party, who did not intend to stay in Jiuyuan County, set off. Yang Fei and Yang Yunting were finally arranged to work in the Ministry of Works as they wished. The difference was that it was different from the kind of work he imagined. It was not a researcher, nor a specific person in charge of a project, but a handyman. Before the team boarded the ship, Yang Fei chased after them and dared to ask Zhang Xiaobao why he was given the same ident. 1. Tai as an apprentice. The machine tool you made is really good, but for us the technical level is too low. It is nothing more than the synchronization of the 3 speeds of the vertical axis when the horizontal axis is given, but I ask for a 3-axis linkage. You think about it. Zhang Xiaobao dropped a sentence and irresponsibly boarded the ship. What is a 3-axis linkage? Yang Fei was stunned. Little Hai kindly told him when he passed by, there is an axis that is not on the same plane as the horizontal or vertical cross-section of the horizontal axis and the vertical axis, but it can be moved at the same time and can do 3-dimensional carving. How do you do it? Yang Fei was surprised. Even children know? When you do a good job as a handyman, you will understand. Little Hai also left an irresponsible sentence. When the fleet disappeared from the sight of the people at the dock, Yang Fei was still squatting on the ground to draw a 3-dimensional picture. Wang Wan stood at the bow of the ship with Zhang Xiaobao and said to him, "You are really bad enough, and you also have a 3-axis linkage. Do you know what a linkage is? As a successful liar, there is nothing in the world that I don't know. A 3-axis linkage is that 1 axis, 2 axes, and 3 axes move together, so that the car can drive. Otherwise, if there is an axis that is not moving, either the axis is broken, or the bearing is idling there. Of course, if it is in gear, it may be that the gear is not in gear, and it is in an idle state. Zhang Xiaobao said with a pedantic face. Wang Wan nodded. You're right. Liars are good at changing concepts. What's the difference between the 3 axes when you're driving and the 1 axis on a machine tool? If you include the steering wheel, you can probably come up with a theory of a 10-axis linkage. Zhang Xiaobao squinted his eyes against the sunlight shining on the river. He looked very peaceful. Thank you. I can't believe you remembered my good points. Have you seen Gong Shuhe? I saw him get on the boat earlier. Wang Wan looked back and said, he should be in the cabin. I think he's very sad. It wasn't easy for him to earn some money and make a few friends, but they're all gone because of you. No matter what you say, he's really attentive to logistics, even if his purpose is to give Yang Fei's method a big favor or sell it for a good price. Yes, I admit that Gong Shuhe was definitely a good official and a good professor in our time. It's a pity that he didn't have a good idea and was caught by Xiao Bei and the others. We reached out and brought him along to help him. Otherwise, what kind of consequences do you think he would have suffered? Zhang Xiaobao sighed. Wang Wan smiled and said, if we didn't bring him along, he would have been sent to Jing. Li Longji is used to being with us. Plus, when Xiao Bei and the others are around, it's lively and warm. After leaving for such a long time, it'll be very troublesome. If he suddenly found out that Xiao Bei and the others sent an official back, he would definitely skin Gong Shuhe alive. When you mentioned Gong Shuhe earlier, did he have anything to do with the professor? Yes. Many professors don't do their own research anymore. The students under them are beautiful and can be used to soothe the body. Those who aren't beautiful naturally have to contribute results. If you don't let me put my name at the front, I won't let you graduate. Zhang Xiaobao was still smiling. Suddenly, he saw a fish jump out of the river in front of him. His mood improved. He continued, it's better now. The students know how to respect their teachers, and the teachers know what it means to be a role model. Yes, soothing the body is a good use of the idiom. According to what you said, it can also help to solve physiological needs. Gong Shuhe's younger brother went too far. He dared to pass on technical information. Regardless of whether the result is good or bad, his actions are wrong. Wang Wan remembered the matter of confidentiality. Idiom? Zhang Xiaobao was stunned. Well, count it as an idiom. People who understand the dialectical relationship of contradictions should never always stare at difficulties, but should find opportunities in threats. A hypocrite who doesn't know how to find an entry point to attack his opponent and shirk responsibility when he is in trouble is definitely not a good official. For example, Wang Wan waited for Zhang Xiaobao to give an answer. As for the words of the official, it was taken as a passing wind. For example, send a telegram back to ask for further attention to confidentiality measures, improve the patriotic ideology of the staff in the Ministry of Works, increase the basic investment in defense, and build an excellent guard team. Zhang Xiaobao opened his mouth. Wang Wan blinked and frowned. Tell me the details. I've already understood the spirit of the central government. The specific things are done by the people below. Have you ever seen any general secretary farming by himself? The emperor has a field of 3 acres for fun. Don't stare at me. The specific thing is to go back and publicize what happened in the Zhouyuan. Then the Ministry of Works will leak a lot of technology in private and secretly put a high price on it to see who wants to buy it. Zhang Xiaobao was stared at by Wang Wan and finally said something. It's easy to leak secrets. It's true, but it's fake technology. We'll catch him later. It's just a case of phishing. The intelligence department has nothing to do anyway. I'll take a break and meet Gong Shuhe at dinner. Zhang Xiaobao stretched and walked toward the cabin. It's pitiful. Wang Wan was sad for Gong Shuhe and followed him. In a small cabin on the flagship, there is now fog, to be precise, steam. Gong Shuhe watched the electric stove alone to boil water and make tea. The water was poured into the teapot. The kettle continued to be filled with water and boiled there, making a steam in the cabin. The tea was good tea. Gong Shuhe had tasted it. It was not preferential treatment for him. The worst tea on the ship was much better than what he could buy. Cup after cup of tea went into his stomach. In the beginning, the taste of the tea was light, and he changed it again. Later, his mouth was numb. He could no longer distinguish between the dry taste and the aftertaste. It was as if drinking water was the taste of tea, and even breathing was the same. Bah! Gong Shuhe spat out the tea tip that he had just chewed. He stared at the teacup made of purple sand and watched the steam rise. He muttered, "Did I take advantage of him? I don't have any money." It wasn't easy to take the method of flying sheep for myself. I sold part of it to the logistics of other armies to make money, and part of it was given away as a favor. Now, I have nothing left. I have to think about it. As he said that, he really started to think. He tilted his head and tapped his hand on the table. It was as if he was trying to figure out what had gone wrong. After half an hour, a look of realization appeared in his eyes. He muttered again, "Favor really can't compare to money. Money really can't compare to favor. Zhang Xiaobao took away all my money and taught the people who owed me a favor a lesson. The favor left behind in the past became hatred. Good, this is a good move. I shouldn't have kept the favor back then. I should have exchanged it all for money and then hid some of it. No, I was afraid when I looked at Zhang Xiaobao. I should have exchanged it all for favor and then used it. It's troublesome to have the people above me owe me a favor. If I go up, I can't be better than Zhang Xiaobao. If you give me another chance, I will use this favor to help those who are not as good as me. I can help a lot. Even if half of them are ungrateful in the end, there will still be half who can help me with small matters. Zhang Xiaobao can't possibly take care of his subordinates, right? Yes, it was my mistake. I can't blame anyone else. Who told me to not have a good position? This time, I escaped a disaster. Since Zhang Xiaobao brought me on board, how could he kill me? As long as I'm alive, there will be a chance in the future." Suddenly, Gong Shuhe understood the situation clearly. He no longer worried about the past and began to plan for the future. He reached out to turn off the electric stove, got up, and opened the door. He took a deep breath of the cool air outside and slowly exhaled. He smiled at the person guarding the door and said, "Excuse me, I'm hungry. Get me a bowl of thick porridge. A big bowl, a small plate of pickles, and 4 meat buns." "Wait." The guard turned around and went to take care of it. After a while, he returned with a tray in his hand. There was a big bowl of porridge, 4 steamed buns the size of a fist, and 4 small plates of pickled vegetables. As soon as the tray approached, Gong Shuhe smelled the smell of shrimp oil. "Thank you. It's worth it to be able to eat the food cooked by the chef in the inner courtyard." Gong Shuhe took the tray and thanked him. He happily turned around and went in. The guard was very surprised. He couldn't understand why Gong Shuhe, who was a prisoner, didn't have the awareness of a prisoner. Gong Shuhe didn't care about what others thought. He ate the bun in 3 bites and drank the porridge with the pickles. Happy wrinkles squeezed onto his face. "It smells good. It smells good. I'm alive. Since yesterday, I haven't had a moment of peace. I'll catch up on some sleep later." Gong Shuhe ate and went to sleep. Xiao Bei and the others, who were watching from the side of the cabin, looked at each other. It's no wonder brother didn't teach him a lesson. His psychological quality is excellent. At this point, he can still adjust himself. In one day, he's fine. There's no need to worry. He's really awesome. He can still sleep soundly after eating and drinking. It's just like what Sister said, this place of peace is my home. He's a talent, a 1 in a million talent. Xiao Bei looked through the small hole and saw that Gong Shuhe had just fallen asleep and was already snoring. "Don't use words blindly. I feel that this place of peace is my home, but there's still a trace of helplessness," Xiao Yuan gently corrected. "Do you think he has Nai now?" Xiao Bei asked. "Has Nai? What kind of nonsense is that? The opposite of helplessness is nigh? Xiao Yuan hated it when people made mistakes. Understand. Who said that I can't use words that didn't exist before? Did you notice? We finally dealt with someone, but in the end, we lost the chance to judge him. It's not fun, right? Where can we find fun again? If I don't deal with people for a few days, I can't find a place to feel comfortable. Xiao Bei seemed very regretful. Xiao Hai and the others also sighed. They thought that bad people were not easy to catch. Xiao Yuan's eyes turned, and he suggested, "Why don't we ask Gong Shuhe? He's always around, so he knows a lot about all kinds of schemes. He'll think of a way. If it works, we'll give him a sum of money." That works too. The unluckiest ones aren't him and Yang Danzi's father, but the people who patrol the army. There's a batch every month. They didn't find the first batch, and they still didn't find the second batch. If they don't get beheaded, they'll be exiled. At worst, they'll be locked up for 8 to 10 years. Xiao Bei thought about the patrol and shook his head. He had a self-satisfied look on his face. Because you're different from them. Zhang Xiaobao's voice suddenly came from the door. Chapter 1177. Brother, the person you found is really good. Look at how he's sleeping. He's even snoring. Seeing his brother come, Xiao Bei immediately rushed over. Zhang Xiaobao nodded. He was obviously very satisfied. He continued, "The Tang Empire's inspectors are trying to find evidence to prove that there is something wrong with the officials. When you see an official, you immediately inferred that he is guilty and maliciously speculated about him. If the officials want to get rid of you, they can only prove that they are not guilty. During the process of the official's proof, you maliciously analyze that every word he says is false. Therefore, the official is definitely innocent, and he can't run away from being innocent. But the inspectors can't do that. If they need the official to prove himself every time, once a month, or even once every half a month, the official won't have to do anything else." Wang Wan also added, "And everywhere you go, the local people will help you. You don't have to be afraid of revenge. If it's the inspectors who ask the local officials, if they don't find any evidence, they are afraid that the officials will take revenge." "That's right." Xiao Bei nodded. "Whoever dares to take revenge on our witnesses will definitely die. If they really take revenge on us, as long as they are not dealt with cleanly and a survivor runs to any shop owned by our family to complain, my family's spies will immediately arrest them. That's not just the crime of taking revenge on the witnesses, but also against the emperor. We patrol the place on behalf of the emperor. Even if the emperor lets them go, I won't let them go. But why don't our family's spies always arrest people? If they are not evil or seriously affect the local people's lives, we can't do anything about it. If we do, how will the imperial court take its position? We can only take action when the people are in dire straits. But now that there are so many people patrolling, the officials don't dare to let the people under their rule know that they can't live anymore. Otherwise, they will be the ones to die." Zhang Xiaobao explained. "Okay, let the imperial court take care of the matters of the imperial court. Let's go get the textbooks." Xiao Bei knew that his brother and sister had come over. It was time for class. Gong Shuhe slept until it was time to turn on the lights. The temperature in the cabin dropped. He did not cover himself with a blanket, so he was naturally woken up. He had just woken up and hadn't adapted yet. He opened his eyes and looked around. It was dark and very uncomfortable. After thinking for a while, he knew where he was. A feeling of emptiness spread through his whole body. He grinned and sighed. He bit and moved his sore and numb body and said to himself, "I'm sorry, but I don't have enough strength. Everything will get better. There is hope as long as I am alive. Others can laugh at me and look down on me, but they don't have the right to deprive me of my right to live. A strong lone wolf can move unhindered across the grassland. Only a strong person can enjoy life. Nothing can make me feel bad. No one can expect to be happy when they see me suffer. Eat, and worry about annoying things. Do whatever you want. After hinting to himself, Gong Shuhe was in a much better mood. He rubbed his face with his hands, got off the couch, and pushed open the door. All kinds of colored lights illuminated the deck and the cabin high above the deck. At the same time, they were also illuminated by the starry sky. It made the gloomy atmosphere in the darkness disappear. A lively night is King beautiful. Have you changed, people? Are you tired? Gong Shuhe raised his head and asked. He then greeted the other guard standing at the door. The guard knew that people who woke up at night were not feeling well, so he smiled back and said, I'm not tired. Brother Li is sick. I told him to put on more clothes, but he didn't listen. He finally got sick from the cold. He kept sneezing and has a fever. Haha. Gong Shuhe was speechless. After a while, he said to the guard in front of him, Are you happy that he's sick? It's not a serious illness. He'll be scolded later. Last time, when I was sick, he was happy too. He said I could slack off. The guard did not think it was wrong for him to be happy. Gong Shuhe smacked his lips. He felt that the guard was not gloating over his misfortune. He was concerned, so he did not want to scold him. He was not in a position to do so. Considering that he had nothing to do, he said to the guard, I'll go see Guard Li. Show me the way. Medical cabin. It's written there. The guard pointed. All right. Gong Shuhe walked leisurely as he read the words on the ship's cabin. What are you doing? Gong Shuhe followed the words to the medical cabin, but he was immediately stopped. Gong Shuhe showed a sad expression and replied with great pain, I'm looking at Guard Li. Go to the cabin next door. Take a shower and change. Gong Shuhe went in. Because of the conditions in the area, he had not showered for half a month. He had not changed his clothes for 10 days. After tidying himself up, he felt much better. When he was about to go in, the person who had stopped him said, Don't look like a dead person. You're at a funeral. Look at your face. Li Quan's illness is not serious. Oh, okay. I have to smile when I see a sick person. Gong Shuhe smiled at the person who had stopped him before he was allowed to go in. As soon as he entered, he saw Guard Li leaning against the bed. He was reading a book in one hand and had a needle in the other. Li Quan looked very distressed. His mouth was down, and his eyebrows were furrowed. His head was tilted. One of his eyes was half closed, and the other was looking at the words on the book. It made people feel his helplessness and depression. Haha, Guard Li, have you been pricked? Tell me, how do you feel? Have you eaten? Gong Shuhe looked happy and asked a few questions in a row. Li Quan was troubled. When he heard the sound, he knew that the person was looking for him because he was the only patient with the surname Li in the medical cabin. He put the book on his lap and looked up at Gong Shuhe for a while. He sighed and said, Yes, it's just a bottle of water. I have a fever, and my stomach is not feeling well. They are afraid that I will increase the pressure in my body if I eat, so they gave me saline. They will probably give me a bowl of soup later. They won't let me eat anything else for now. Gong Shuhe was relieved. It seemed that the problem was not serious. Otherwise, they would not have given him saline. However, the doctors from the Zhang family and the Wang family took care of him very carefully. He was envious. Your fever is gone now? Gong Shuhe asked with concern since he was here to see a patient. My fever dropped from 39 degrees in the afternoon to a little more than 38 degrees. They said that they would let me have a fever for a while, but it did not go down. They wanted to use physical cooling. If I had known, I would have worn more clothes. Li Quan was troubled again. He glanced at the book again. Gong Shuhe looked down and saw that the cover had the words, The Habitual Perspective of Humans. He asked curiously, This book is for the guards to read. The guards are not only responsible for guarding the door, but they also need to protect the surroundings. They have nothing to do anyway, Li Quan said as he touched the cover of the book. Gong Shuhe was about to praise him when two beautiful girls came over. One sat 20 degrees to Li Quan's side, and the other knelt on the bed behind Li Quan. The person behind Li Quan reached out and pressed his head. The person beside her took out a thermometer and said to Li Quan, "Take a temperature." "What do you want to eat for dinner?" "Boiled eggs." Li Quan asked them to put the thermometer under his armpit. "No, change it." "Roasted lamb leg. Add more cumin and chili." "No, change it." "Whatever." "Okay." Gong Shuhe wanted to laugh when he heard their question and answer, but Li Quan laughed first. Gong Shuhe laughed and said to the girls, "You asked him and he didn't let you eat. Why are you asking him? What do you know?" The girl asked Gong Shuhe. "I'm not asking him what he wants to eat. I'm asking him to relax." There is a lot to learn about the actions of medical personnel. Let me tell you. "Do you think the medical cabin is big?" Gong Shuhe nodded. "It's big. It's more than 10 times the size of my place." "Do you have any idea?" "Of course. It's good for air circulation if it's big, but it's empty when it's big. That's why there are many medical personnel in the room. It's mealtime now, so there are people chatting and playing chess. At the same time, we have to keep an eye on the patient's expression. If the patient is upset, we will lower our voices. If the patient is not energetic, we will use a partition to separate the bed. Our goal is to let the patients feel comfortable and warm. They feel that even if they are sick, everything in life is beautiful. They don't have any other psychological burden. The most important thing to consider is to recover from the illness as soon as possible." The nurse's voice was very sweet and soft. It made people feel comfortable listening to it. "This lady's words are really nice." Gong Shuhe continued nodding and praising her. "That's why I'm the one talking to Li Quan. My tone and expression have been specially trained. Look at where I'm sitting. I can't sit further back. That way, the patient's front will be too empty. If the voice comes from behind, he will be more alert. I can't move too far forward. It will affect the patient's vision." Because Li Quan is a bodyguard, he attaches great importance to the 30-degree and 45-degree angles, so I can't enter that area. At the same time, I'm sitting at the 20-degree angle, so Li Quan can see me from the corner of his eyes without turning his head. The nurse explained again. At the same time, she moved her body slightly to make it look less rigid. Gong Shuhe was shocked. He didn't expect the medical personnel of the Zhang family and Wang family to take the patient's occupational habits into consideration. At the same time, he felt touched. He thought that the logistics he was in charge of was considerate enough in many aspects. However, compared to the Zhang family and Wang family, he realized that the difference was huge. The difference was like heaven and earth, and they were even in the basement. "You guys think so much. I think it will be very tiring." Gong Shuhe immediately thought of another aspect. If they cared too much about others, they would definitely feel uncomfortable. "It's tiring. We are working. When we are not working, we are not tired. When we sleep and rest, we know that Li Quan and the other guards are guarding outside. When we eat, we know that the chefs will research new dishes according to the tastes of each group. Our meals are served 24 hours a day. They are not prepared in advance and heated up, but there are chefs on duty waiting for us to order," the nurse said with a blissful look on her face. Gong Shuhe listened and was full of envy. He felt that a lone wolf on the grassland was not as good as a pack of wolves. If he had a warm home that he needed to protect, he would be stronger when facing all kinds of difficulties outside. Just as Gong Shuhe thought that he was part of the Zhang family and Wang family, a voice came from the door. "The young lady and the young master are looking for Gong Shuhe for questioning." The warmth and solidity that had just risen in Gong Shuhe's heart turned into the tenacity and sadness that a lone wolf needed to have. He could only stand up unwillingly. He squeezed out a smile at Li Quan and the two girls nearby and nodded. He turned around, pursed his lips, and walked away.
Chapter 1178. Gong Shuhe was led all the way up. When he reached the top of the ship, the path became narrower and narrower. It was only 5 steps wide. Gong Shuhe, who had never been to the top of a ship before, scanned the surrounding scenery. He wanted to remember it in his heart. He might not have the chance to do it again in the future. The only thing that made him feel at ease was that he knew he wouldn't die. He wouldn't even be imprisoned. It wasn't that his crimes were small. If he made a mistake, no matter how small, and the 9 children caught him, he would be beheaded or executed. That was innocent plus 5. Of course, none of the people caught by the 9 children were innocent. If they were innocent, they wouldn't catch them. "We're here. Wait." The person leading the way told Gong Shuhe. He first pressed a button-like thing by the door. Then, there was the sound of a flute, which surprised Gong Shuhe. What was that? Someone played the flute as soon as he pressed it? Let him in. There was the sound of a trumpet. Gong Shuhe knew this person. The person leading the way opened the door and gestured for Gong Shuhe to go in. Then, he turned around and left. Gong Shuhe stepped in. He had clearly hinted that he wasn't afraid, but when he faced it, he suddenly felt an inexplicable fear. The room wasn't very big, but it wasn't small either. When he entered, he saw that it was about 6 or 7 steps wide. There was a high seat against the wall with sofas on both sides. In the middle was a large tea table made of frosted glass. It was heavy and elegant. On the left side of the tea table were 2 people, a man and a woman. The man, after seeing the 2 people, Gong Shuhe didn't dare to think about anything else. He didn't dare to look at the layout of the room. He quickly lowered his head and said, "Sinner Gong Shuhe greets the 2 of you. Don't call us sinner. We are not in charge of investigating. Cuckoo and I are the governor and deputy governor of the northern part of Hebei province. We have no right to interfere with government affairs. Sit." Zhang Xiaobao opened his mouth and spoke. At the same time, he pointed at the chair opposite them. Gong Shuhe Weiwei looked up. His previous calmness was no longer there. His legs couldn't help but tremble. He nervously said, "This official doesn't dare." "Yes." "This official, sit." In the end, Gong Shuhe walked over to Zhang Xiaobao and sat down across from him, but he only took up 1/3 of the seat. He had wanted to not sit, but he suddenly felt that if he didn't sit when they asked him to, he would be guilty. Zhang Xiaobao saw him sit down and looked at Wang Wan. Wang Wan nodded and picked up a pen to take notes. Zhang Xiaobao looked at Gong Shuhe seriously and asked, "Do you know why I called you here?" Gong Shuhe raised his head to answer. He opened his mouth but suddenly fell silent. He kept thinking. As a smart person, he knew that things were not as simple as they seemed. If he answered well, he would be fine. If he answered poorly, the 2 people across from him, who said they didn't care about government affairs, would not be satisfied. He would still be handed over to Xiao Bei and the others to deal with according to the rules. Faced with this opportunity, Gong Shuhe was a lot more cautious. He didn't care that the 2 of them were waiting for him to answer. He tried to analyze the situation at hand. He revealed everything he had done, including deceiving, bribery, colluding with colleagues, and dealing in logistics. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were not in a rush. They patiently waited, hoping for a surprise. Otherwise, they would deal with it as they should. After a full 15 minutes, Gong Shuhe raised his head again. His eyes were resolute as he answered, "I know. I am still useful in your eyes." "Why do you say that?" Zhang Xiaobao still asked with a straight face. "Because my identity is not worthy of your attention. Killing me is easier than killing a chicken. To kill a chicken, you need to consider the removal of its feathers and the use of its blood to make blood tofu. Killing me is not that troublesome. When I made a mistake, the 2 of you realized that I had some skill in a certain area, so you could use it." Gong Shuhe threw caution to the wind and spoke bluntly. He stared into Zhang Xiaobao's eyes, hoping to see something useful for him. Zhang Xiaobao, on the other hand, did not reveal any emotions. The frequency of his blinking eyes did not change,
the expression on his face did not change, and even the rise and fall of his chest when he breathed was not obvious. He was like a sitting monk. While Gong Shuhe was disappointed, Zhang Xiaobao finally showed a small smile. It was like the spring wind melting snow, and it was brighter than the sunlight. It made people feel better. Gong Shuhe immediately looked forward to it. It was good to have power. Just one expression could make the people below feel different emotions. It was a pity that he was only a 9th-rank official. This time, he didn't even have an official position. It was sad. Thinking about that, Gong Shuhe lowered his head again. Are you scared? If you are scared, it means that you are not confident. You do not have the means to make a final attack. So, you need to train for a while. Otherwise, you will delay the proper business. Tell us, what do you think you are capable of? When Zhang Xiaobao saw Gong Shuhe's actions, he felt a little regretful. He then understood. After all, Gong Shuhe was not like him or Wang Wan. It was normal for him to be afraid. If he had been a young man back then, even if he was facing the chairman, it would not have mattered. The people on the mountaintop and the ground were the same in each other's eyes. What did the people on the mountaintop cry or laugh have to do with him? Gong Shuhe didn't know how vast the world was. After being an official for a long time, he was more afraid of officials who were more powerful than him. When he heard Zhang Xiaobao's words, he was suddenly shocked. He immediately thought that Zhang Xiaobao was going to find a bold person to go out and do things. It was estimated that it was related to the duo cannibal people. After organizing his words, Gong Shuhe slowly said, I guess it has something to do with what I did in Zhouyuan County. I pressed Yang Fei and took the good ideas he thought of for my own use first. I wrote letters and sent them to other logistics departments. I even sent them to the east and west roads of Shannon. Some of them were exchanged for money, and some of them were given favors. They took the plan provided by Yang Fei to the court and got a reward. Although I also had the opportunity to report to the court, I knew that I had to be careful about everything. I didn't dare to do it. If I didn't happen to meet you stopping in Zhouyuan, I could still be my own 9th-rank official. Now I was caught. At first, I just thought it was bad luck. Today, I figured it out. In fact, it was my luck. Otherwise, when Yang Fei entered the Ministry of Works with his design, the court would inevitably send people to the local area to check his background. At that time, where would I meet you two? Without you two, I am absolutely dead. I was caught by you because there was a problem in my job. I was caught by the court because I bullied the meritorious officials of the Ministry of Works. Gong Shuhe said this and looked up at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Wang Wan bowed her head and wrote. Zhang Xiaobao was still the same as before. He had to continue to say, I can give the most direct benefits to others when facing the reward of the court, which shows that I know how to endure. I can see the benefits that can be exchanged with others from Yang Fei's plan, which shows that I am smart and good at using all kinds of resources. Tell me what you want me to do. As long as I can do it, I will do it. Oh, and if I can't do it, I will think of a way to do it. Even if I have to go to the front lines and charge. After saying this, Gong Shuhe sat there. His heart was completely relaxed. He had said what he needed to say, and he had done what he needed to do. He did what he needed to do. Zhang Xiaobao finally reacted. He turned his head and looked at Wang Wan. He gave Gong Shuhe a look of certainty. He smiled and said, That is good. You take a knife and charge to the front lines. You will be a bait for my army. Don't worry. Your life will not be in vain. The moment the enemy attacks you, our cannonballs will definitely cover your position. Huh? Gong Shuhe shivered. In that case, even if the enemy doesn't kill me, our cannonballs will kill me. Even if you die, you are still a hero. You are more important than Mount Tai. Zhang Xiaobao nodded. Please forgive me. Just pretend I didn't say the last thing, Gong Shuhe said with a smile. Now, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were truly satisfied. They were satisfied with how quickly Gong Shuhe had adjusted his state of mind. He had only said a few words,
but he had immediately turned into a cheeky smile. They had to admit that this was a good skill. Zhang Xiaobao put away the smile on his face. He said to Gong Shuhe, "Gong Shuhe, I order that you are now a private battalion commander of Tang. You are independent of the other administrative departments of Tang. You are only responsible to the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang family. You are also responsible to the emperor. No one else has the right to question or assign you." "What? Private battalion?" "I know about smuggling. It means secretly transporting goods that are subject to customs duties without paying customs duties." "But, what is this private smuggling thing? It belongs to the military?" "It is official smuggling." Gong Shuhe was scared. He knew how to smuggle. Zhang Xiaobao was even happier that he knew how to smuggle. He said to him, "Smuggling is not allowed without an official sanction. Therefore, you must not be caught by the Tang Empire's people who are pursuing smugglers. Others do not know your identity at all. Only our family's spies know. I will tell His Majesty later, and His Majesty will know about you." Gong Shuhe opened his mouth slightly. He was very clear in his heart that he was like a foreign spy. In order to hide his identity, he could only choose to run away or die when the border army chased after him. Otherwise, he would implicate other colleagues who were also abroad. They were heroes, but he did not want to be one. "I really don't want to do it. Fine, I'll go all out. Do I need to have a superior? I can't always look for you too, and I might not be able to find you immediately. If I am caught, can I become a hero?" Gong Shuhe thought for a moment and knew what to do. Wang Wan put down her pen and said, "You belong to the Meteor Squad. It was established last year. In the future, someone will contact you. Your code name is Shang Yun. Even if you die, you cannot become a hero, at least not now. You can only get a record of shining. After many years, perhaps your name and file will appear on the list of contributions. If you are caught and don't die, you can escape. Someone will help you escape. After all, when smuggling becomes large-scale, you will have people. When others learn that you have escaped, they will believe you." "Meteor Squad? I have never heard of it." Gong Shuhe was puzzled. In theory, anyone who has been exposed has already shown. Fortunately, it has been established for a year and has not appeared, Wang Wan explained. Gong Shuhe took a deep breath and said, "I understand. It's just like the song, Stargazy Sky, in the military camp. Who shines in the sky? Who falls in the night? The Big Dipper may not be eternal. Meteors are just passers-by. They are legends. And also silence. Don't be so tragic. You are a smuggler. If the Tang Empire's inspection team takes action, someone will inform you in advance. The people from other countries can't even coax you. How can they catch you?" Zhang Xiaobao curled his lips and said. Gong Shuhe quickly clasped his hands and said, Thank you, thank you. I have one last question. Can't you find someone to be a private battalion commander?" "Yes, but then you will die. We can't bear to see a person with a little ability be killed. Remember, you have died once." After Xiao Bei and Xiao Yuan returned to the capital, they always wanted to catch a few people to reflect the value of their existence, but others were smart enough to hide. "Do you understand?" Zhang Xiaobao reminded him. "I understand. Others are hiding. You didn't get off the ship and ran to the Jiu Yuan to rest. I was killed by a group of children. Why do they have to invite Xiao Bei and the others to eat barbecue? To be exact, I died in the hands of young Dan Zi's sister, and that old yellow dog, his sister." After Gong Shuhe vented the depression in his heart, he suddenly thought of something and immediately became happy again. He happily asked, "Am I a member of the Zhang Xiaobao and Wang families? Food is provided 24 hours on the ship. Go eat, foodie." Zhang Xiaobao waved his hand like a fly. Gong Shuhe stood up excitedly. "You two sit down. I am really hungry." After solving Gong Shuhe's problem, the fleet continued to go against the current, stopping occasionally on the way.
Before the group arrived at their destination, Yang Fei flew down with the flow of the river and arrived at the capital.
His family was still in the area.
He was now a menial worker and could not bring his family to live in the capital. The daily expenses were too high. Yang Fei planned to make achievements in the Ministry of Works and then bring his relatives to enjoy life. What he didn't know was that his family had already been brought over. For those who worked in the Ministry of Works, their family members had to be well protected. It was just like how Xiao Bei and the others were surrounded by guards when they went out on a trip. Stupid plots like this where one's family members were threatened due to lack of consideration would only appear in TV series. Yang Fei's relatives needed to wait for him to make some achievements before they were allowed to meet him, otherwise he would be even prouder. In a place guarded by layers of troops on the outskirts of the capital, Yang Fei saw the research site of the Ministry of Works. After the 100-meter-wide ring of forest, there were bald mountains, blue water, and hot air balloons echoing the white clouds in the sky. Without asking, Yang Fei knew that the 100-meter-wide woods were used to block the line of sight, because there were thorns between the trees. There were definitely many people hiding in them. Even if others were lucky enough to pass through the woods, it would be difficult to hide in the open place. So rich. Seeing such a large area in the capital's outskirts, Yang Fei sighed before he saw what was inside. "Senior brother, you're finally here. I was so worried that you were caught. If Xiao Bei and the others caught you, even if they didn't die, they would lose a layer of skin." Good. Where are sister-in-law and uncle?" While Yang Fei was observing his surroundings, a person ran over from the opposite side and pulled on his hand as he spoke with concern. "Oh, it's Hong Yang. They didn't come. I'll bring them over in a few days. I was also worried about you and was afraid that you would be implicated." "You look good," Yang Fei said excitedly. "What can happen to me? I was warned once, so I'll be more strict in the future. Since senior brother is here, you will definitely make some achievements. Don't be depressed. If Xiao Bao and Cuckoo really didn't like you, they wouldn't have sent you here. It's necessary to suppress you. Senior brother, follow me." Yang Fei's junior brother grabbed Yang Fei's hand and happily led the way. The two walked for a while and then took a boat to float on the water for an hour. Finally, they landed on solid ground and came to a hill. Then, they went up the stairs. First, they went up a flight of stairs with 354 steps and then a small platform. Then, they went up another flight of stairs with 29 steps and then another small platform. After that, they reached a flat area. This flight of stairs is built according to the calendar, so it says, day after day, year after year. Am I right? Yang Fei was actually in the mood to count while walking. His junior brother nodded repeatedly. "Senior brother is still the best. I walked by it many times before, but then I heard someone talking about it. Look at the two sides. Actually, there will be a fire lit on the pillars at night to show that scientific research will continue day and night. The person who designed this place really put in a lot of effort," Yang Fei praised. "What's there to think about? I heard that Xiao Bao casually mentioned it, and then he and Yao Wan spent half the night drawing it. Including the other designs, where would the two of them have the time to put in so much effort?" His junior brother explained. "They don't count. I'm talking about people, they aren't people," Yang Fei said gloomily. "You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.